Hello, my absolutely beautiful astrology soulmates, and welcome to your horoscope for March of 2025, which is by far our busiest and most dynamic month. There are a lot of shifts and changes, and while the shifts and changes will present themselves this month, I don't think that we see the full implication of them until we get to about April, May. But we're going to talk about everything that is coming up. And in this video, I also break down all 12 signs, and you can just click in the description box down below to go to your sign. Now, I heavily encourage you to listen to this first portion where you're getting the general reading, and then go to listen for your particular sign. Because wow, it's a busy month, and all of us will be put in a position to need to face some things that these eclipses are going to bring to our attention. And the interesting thing about eclipses is not so much that they're rare, but it's that the timelines of what you're working with when an eclipse come in, things can change so quickly, especially this very last this new moon solar eclipse that we're going to have in Aries. I'm telling you, you're planting your seeds of intention, but you've grown and you've changed so much over the last 18 months doing the Aries and Libra axes that what you put out there in your garden, it shifts direction so fast. So I want you to just hold on to your horses and be ready for some of these beautiful changes that are coming. Now, we've also got both Venus and Mercury going retrograde in the same sign. So this Aries energy is of maximum attention. We have a lot that is at its beginning. There is a lot that is pushing forward with a pretty bold initiative kind of energy. So this is not a passive month. It is simply not. So get ready, hold on, and let's get ready to talk about what's going on. Before we do, first and foremost, I hope that you have checked out the Venus retrograde playlist that I put together for you. Myself, Nicholas Polomonakis, we've got Tiffany Harlick and Andrea Michelle. We talked about different aspects of this Venus retrograde because the Venus retrograde itself is really very active, and we're moving into a place of where did I betray myself, looking at reclamation, looking at the power that's in it. So I just put that together for you. Hope you're diving in, you're enjoying it. I'm going to make sure it's at the end of this video, and I'll also make sure it's in the description box down below. And to support that Venus retrograde work, the Venus Reset program, which is my 22-day get to know Venus, clear out your sacred pelvic bowl, really get the energy moving in your Venusian questions. And man, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but that tightness where you feel like you're just not soft and pliable in your hips and in your energy, maybe even feels like you got a little something in front of your heart. This program is delicious. It's fun. It's easy for you to receive. So it's on sale, and I hope you take advantage of it and spend 22 beautiful days with me at your own pace, doing a little bit of getting to know that Venus energy better and better and better. And of course, the transit course is going to be starting in April 5th. So I hope you get signed up for that. If you're ready to learn about transits, know what transits do, what they're doing in your chart, I would love to have you in class. Now, March is not just busy for us individually, but it is also really busy for us on a collective global level. So we've got another beautiful Mundane Minute with our friend Dan Waits. So let's take a minute to see what's going on in the astrology of the world before we break down our personal astrology for March.
Hi Stormie and everyone out there, this is Dan from World Astrology Report, and I'm here with a Mundane Minute for March of 2025. There are a bunch of signs that March is the month when 2025 really kicks off, so to speak, because there's a ton of emphasis on Mars's dynamic, go-getting fire sign of Aries this month. Both Mercury and Venus are going to station retrograde in Aries, then the Sun enters the sign and initiates Aries season, and then the first of this year's solar eclipses will take place in Aries at the end of the month too. So if you think things are changing quickly now, just wait until March is done. But the biggest news of all is that Neptune, the planet of ideals and the collective imagination, is moving into Aries at the end of the month too. And this is a really big deal. Neptune first moved into Pisces in 2011, around the time that smartphone-powered social networks like Instagram were starting to take off. And so we've seen an era in which image is everything, a time when a lot of us have spent a lot of effort curating an idealized image of ourselves on social media. And I think this period was both idealistic, but also quite unforgiving. But the feel of the times is going to change. And the new ethos is moving towards something we could sum up with the words, you can just do things. We can already see this with the way the Trump administration is taking all sorts of bold and sometimes controversial actions without caring too much what the so-called rules of engagement in politics and diplomacy say. I think you can already feel Neptune in Aries building. And I think we're going to become conscious of this new, much more action-oriented collective mood in March. With Venus retrograde, it won't be the best month for diplomatic relations. And there's going to be a lot of fire in the air too, perhaps even literally. It could be a pretty dramatic month in certain parts of the world, particularly the Middle East. So let's hope for the best. But bear in mind that we'll all be taking part and collectively creating this new Neptunian era. So if there are parts of your life you want to change, just remember that you can just do things. If you want to hear more on this, then head over to my channel, World Astrology Report, and check out my March forecast, which I think should be out by the time you see this. Thanks everyone, stay safe and have a great month.
As you can see, the global astrology is as busy as the personal astrology as well, and what's going on the globe usually affects us personally as well. So I want you guys to have a full picture of what's going on energetically around you. Now into the month we go. First of all, on the 1st, heading in, we have got Venus stepping officially into its retrograde. Now Venus moved into its pre-retrograde shadow time on January 28th when it got to 24 degrees of Pisces. So first and foremost, you can just back up to that 24 degrees of Pisces in your chart and start to see what was going on in that house or that area for you. Because when we come to March 1st and we see Venus at 10 degrees of Aries, it's between that 10 degrees of Aries and 24 degrees of Pisces that are going to be some of the lessons that you are learning and looking at. Now, also you can flash back to 2017, the last time Venus was retrograde in this Aries vibration. Check out the Venus retrograde video to go really deep into that. But what we want to know for this particular vibration is that this is a time of review. It's review, it's revisiting the joy, the pleasure, play in your life. And most importantly, it is a time of reviewing what do you value? At this point in your life, you're reassessing your relationships, your money, your self-esteem, but it is all based on what do you truly value now? What brings you joy? What brings you passion? What brings you pleasure? When's the last time you went back to an old hobby just because you enjoyed it? When's the last time you gave yourself an opportunity to do that and not feel guilty about it? This Venus retrograde is going to be pulling us back for a really staunch review. Now, what this retrograde I do not believe is about, and I want to put this out here, is starting new relationships, right? I don't always think that that is the best idea. It happens all the time, but to intentionally go start a relationship under this energy, you get to the other side and Venus is fully out of its retrograde shadow and you're like, no, this was really not it. Or we're overspending or something like that. And it's like, no, that's not for me either, you know? So just keep that in mind as you're considering what can you really do with this Venus retrograde that's going to be to your greatest good on the other side. Now, when we get to the 3rd, we see Mercury moving into Aries. Mercury, our communication energy, the energy of our mind. It's not just communication on how we speak, but how we give information, how we receive information, how we process it all together. Now, moving into the vibration of energy of Aries, it's quick energy. It's direct, right? We're saying what I'm thinking. I'm saying what I want. I'm having more bold ideas and I'm willing to speak them out to you. So this is a great energy to initiate conversations. Absolutely. If you have to have a conversation and it's taken you a little bit of courage to get it off the ground, do it. Do it, right? This is a great energy to do that. Now, let's say that you wanted to pitch an idea. It's different, or maybe you're pitching your business to an investor, or you're putting an application into school or something like that. Pitch that idea. It's incredibly creative. It would be a bold, courageous step on your part. And so this is a great energy to do that. Now, depending on where this is happening in your chart as well, I do want to say, I know it's Aries energy, but if it's happening in a more collective area of your chart, brainstorm, get together with people, talk, say the words out loud. Do we agree on this? What are our ideas? And then it makes it easier to speak and to live those ideas out loud. Now, on the 14th, bam, we're at a full moon lunar eclipse, and this one is happening in Virgo. Now, a couple things to point out here is that, first of all, a full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We have to pivot from where we were before, but we need to see why. It's almost like we need to have a revelation as to why we need to pivot, or what to pivot to and from. But this is a total eclipse. This is why I think this is such a big deal for us to actually take some note of, because a total eclipse, this is a complete resetting. It's a complete blotting out of what was here before. So I'm telling you, in 6 months, this area of your chart, this Virgo area of your chart, is not going to look anything like it does right now. So at 23 degrees of Virgo in your chart, go see what house that is for you, particularly in specific, so that you can see what is going to shift, because the full moon cracks us open and it says you've got to let go of this habit, of this routine, of this belief, because it's inefficient and it's not Virgo. It's not serving us anymore, or it's stopping you from being productive or serving others. So it can be a really practical full moon where you're just going, yeah, that old idea is not serving me. But whatever the change is that this eclipse is going to bring in, it's in Virgo, so it's in the material reality. It's in our material world. You're going to be able to touch it, taste it, see if it works. I think a lot about Virgo having systems. So even if this just comes down to, you've got to declutter your space and your mind so that we can see that clarity coming through your actions so that you're productive and you're efficient. This is going to definitely put you in a position to make those changes. Now, on the 15th, we've got Mercury now moving into that retrograde in Aries. So all of those ideas that were coming up, things you were talking about, hopefully you were brainstorming, you were thinking about what was going on with other people. Now it's time for Mercury to take this retrograde, and it's going to be retrograding at 9 degrees of Aries. This gets exciting, not only now, but especially when we get to the end of the month. But it's going to take this retrograde at 9 degrees of Aries, and it's going to back up all the way until April 7th, which is the same day that Mars is coming inbounds, because Mars is out of bounds, creating a lot of really hot, fiery, explosive behaviors. So on the same day, Mercury will come to its direct energy at 26 degrees of Pisces. Now, as Mercury is sliding back into this retrograde, typical retrograde rules apply, right? I wouldn't be signing new contracts. I would be double checking information, because misunderstandings galore can just really be a thing. But it's also a great time to revisit old projects. If you needed to work on that website, if you needed to work on that book, you needed to study things that were older that you missed and you needed to review, this is a great transit to be able to do that with. If there's a past mentor or a past friend, or someone you can connect with that they are from your past, but by connecting with them, you get these fresh insights or fresh perspectives. That's a phenomenal use of this Mercury retrograde. On the 20th, we welcome in Aries season. So happy birthday, Aries. Happy birthday to the Aries area of your chart, because for all of us, it's a fresh start. It's a new day out here. It is the spring equinox. So we all move into a different season depending on which side of the world you're on, but we are going to equinox. So new beginnings, fresh starts, rebirth. I get to live. I get to exist. Damn it. This is the sentiment of the Aries season. So as the sun is coming here, Aries energy is already very busy, but the sun brings light, heat, life, vitality. It brings a motivation. So it's like a channel where you're bursting with energy physically. You may even feel better under this energy, because technically Mars is direct. right? It's not through its full post-retrograde shadow time, but it is direct as well. So as the sun brings the energy here, get that body outside, get moving, get exercising, get a project going that stimulates that I'm alive kind of energy in a really productive way. When we get to the 27th, we're going to see that Venus retrograde slides back from Aries into the Pisces vibration. Now, all of these things that we've been learning and looking at and reclaiming, as we slide this Venusian energy back into Pisces, it's like, first of all, we're going to revisit compassion. We're going to revisit forgiveness, but it's coming from a position of really heightened intuition now, right? There's even an intuition about what you value. There's an intuition about what to forgive, what to surrender, what to let go of, patterns that need to be released or adjusted so that you can have a full integration of what you know now. Because sometimes we know something, we've come to an evolution and we don't realize that we got there. And then an old situation, retrograde season, will present itself and we go, no, I'm not interested in that anymore, actually. And that's when you know that your evolution has happened. So I think that we're going to see a lot of that kind of engagement in the healing practices and in the assimilation as we travel through the Venus in Pisces time. On the 29th, we've got a new moon solar eclipse, and I am pumped for this one. It's in Aries. It's the last one in the Aries cycle that we're going to see. And guess what degree it's happening at? Yes, it's happening at 9 degrees of Aries. So this is exciting. This is exciting for all of us because we have already seen the 9 degrees of Aries energy be super activated this year, just even this month, right? We had Mercury step into its retrograde right there. So this is a potent space. The Aries energy is just absolutely lit. Now, as we're having this new moon solar eclipse happening here, first of all, I'm telling you, the eclipse can bring, like, it's a sudden change and it happens really fast. So it feels like the timeline of your life got different really fast. And to this, I want to offer a bit of a pre-congratulations to you, because over the last 18 months, as we've been traveling with that Aries and Libra axes, you have changed. You have changed. You have grown. You have evolved. You know yourself a little bit different from a little bit of a different place. And that is something to be congratulated. Your ability to know to thine own self be true, I think, is really heightened here at this particular time. And it has a much deeper meaning than maybe you were even really thinking about going into this eclipse. Now, as we are going to close out this month, we've got a massive transit for the year. We have got Neptune sliding into the vibration of Aries. Now, we're not going to stay with Neptune for all of 2025. We're just getting a taste, and then it'll be back in 2026 where we'll do a lot more work with it. But as Neptune slides here into Aries, in March, first of all, we've seen that Aries is really full. It's really lush. There's a lot of energy going there. Neptune brings a spiritual awakening, and it is the awakening of creative courage. It is the awakening of intuitive courage. It is the awakening of visionary leadership. And I'm excited for you to see what your intuition is calling you to with your own visionary leadership. What is it in your life? First of all, I think that Neptune moving into Aries calls all of us back to whatever we call a higher power, right? And you'll know. Because something in you will be like, it feels like there's a hole in my soul. I'm feeling a little bit too lonely. What is the new spiritual practice or the old spiritual practice you might be going back to, or an old philosophy or a different philosophy of spiritual or intuitive energy that you're willing to go on this adventure about, right? And you're like, I gotta go, I gotta get it, I gotta seek it. Where are you channeling inspiration for your life right now? Oh my gosh, I can tell you right now, my little algorithm feed looks really different, and it's continuing to look different. So I know I'm changing, and I'm curious. Let me know in the comment section down below. Are you seeing that too? Because now I've got all cooking videos, all weightlifting videos, very Aries, right? So let me know what's changing for you, but where are you drawing inspiration? Because that inspiration, that content is coming in, it's coming into your whole vibe, and it's shaping what you're thinking about and the way that you're moving as you go out in the world. So this is going to be a time, I think, with the Neptune energy here to embrace your role as the pioneer that you are, to embrace it, whether it's artistically, whether it's of service, whether it's in a 12-step program, whether it's in a NICU, whether it's in a nursing home, whether it's spiritually, to embrace the role you're being called to be of service to other people, but you're doing it with a bit of fire. One caveat I do want to say for the month as we consider this energy, especially leading a little bit more into April, is that Neptune, because it's doing so much dissolving, it can create a bit of illusion, right? And we are chasing something or idealizing something that's not really real. So this is where the practice of staying grounded or bringing grounding practices more into your world will be important. And one of the things I say to do is fact check. Fact check. Is that actual real information backed by facts? That's a great way to work with this Neptune moving into Aries energy. All right, my beautiful friends, click in the description box down below to the timestamps to go to your individual sign. I love you so much, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Bye, guys. Hello, my beautiful Aries, and welcome to March, where it is almost Aries season. In fact, I think as soon as we start the month, it really starts to feel like Aries season. Bang on. So much is going on this month in that first house for you. And the first house being such a huge representative of the self, identity, initiation, the physical body. There's just so many aspects of how this house gets activated that the month of March really emphasizes personal renewal, identity shifts, and new beginnings for you coming up this month, Aries. So it's a really powerful time where you're going to have a lot of self-realization, self-assertion that's going to have to come out there in how you're presenting yourself to the world. And that's going to undergo a fair amount of transition and transformation. Now, March is one of the busiest months astrologically because we've got retrogrades. Your ruling planet is still out of bounds and not all the way out of its post-retrograde cycle. And we have eclipse season. So it is a busy month, but Aries, what I want you to be encouraged by is that with all of the energy that is happening, even if it feels like all of these changes are coming, but you don't exactly see the clarity of your warrior or your warrioress direction, it's coming. It's coming. You just plant the redefining self-love, personal aesthetic, initiation seeds, and we are going to see what comes to shape around, okay? Now, as we are jumping into this month, right away on the 1st, we see Venus turning retrograde in your sign. And this Venus retrograde, it is so much about your self-worth. Venus also ruling your relationships and your finances. There is a signature here that is about, your self-esteem and who and how you are valuing yourself, because you're going to be able to see this in the relationship qualities that you have around you. So this Venus retrograde is going to be an invitation for you, Aries, to revisit how do you present yourself? Because this first house is governing so much of that physical body, your appearance, your aesthetic, the impression that you make when you're in the room, right? So this retrograde, I think there's a lot that goes with it. And check out the Venus retrograde playlist I put together for you. But I do think that for you in particular, this retrograde is less about just looking at the inward alignment, but also about how the outward alignment is showing up and how it's outwardly showing up in your relationships, how it's your relationship with yourself is drawing those kinds of relationships and opportunities to you. And one of the questions that kept coming up for me as I was looking over your horoscope, Aries, is this question: do you love who you see when you look in the mirror? I'm talking about those hips, those thighs, those eyes. When you gaze deeply into your own being, do you love who you see when you look in the mirror? Now, this transit often brings about that space where we're doing reevaluation, of course, but it is going to be about how you express your values through your appearance as well. So I'm telling you, if you've had any old insecurities, especially around beauty, around worth, around attraction or what you've been attracted to, these things can rise to the surface. And it's not to hold you back. It's not to, remind you of your insecurities, but it's to show you where you have the space to reconnect and reclaim your own body through self-care rituals, through exercise, through a refreshment to your wardrobe, and move towards that healing. Now, one of the things I would suggest is that because this Venus retrograde is going through your first house, and really we're going to work with this Venus energy all year, but particularly in March, I would avoid any really drastic changes to your appearance just yet. Of course, this will depend on your particular chart. Cosmic results may vary and all of that. But once Venus turns direct, this is a better time to do that haircut. Now you're just looking for the styles, okay? Also, any romantic relationships or really cool financial opportunities that come in, I want you to be excited about them. I want you to learn how to be in the vibration of what's coming, but also give it some time and focus on loving yourself enough to not only have drawn that vibration to you, but paying attention to, if you're able to hold the vibration, also to be able to keep it, okay? On the 3rd, we see Mercury moving into the vibration of Aries, getting ready for its retrograde as well. So again, we've got more light up to your first house space. And this is what I want to call for you this month, the voice of authenticity, right? Like, you got to just say what you mean, and you need to be direct, and you have an opportunity to be clear, because when Mercury is transiting in this first house space, and there's so much Aries energy going on, your thoughts, your communication, they become deeply personal to you. So what is it that you want to say? What is it that you need to say? Do you need to initiate a conversation somewhere where you need to assert yourself or assert your boundaries or share your truth in some way, right? I like this transit at this point too. Mercury is going to go retrograde, but I like the transit at this point because it's like your mind is in alignment with your identity. And this is helping to express more of that true sense really clearly. And also, as you're expressing yourself and you've got so much change to even your identity, if what you're saying doesn't align with the new identity you are rolling out, you'll hear it. It's like it goes right out of your mouth into your own ears. Okay, so there is just a pioneering spirit about how you're going to be speaking and sharing and presenting your ideas. And I think that it's really inspiring. But we do need to remember that your ruling planet is still out of bounds. So while you may be talking and speaking and inspiring from a different place, it can also provoke your temper. So try to be as thoughtful as you can, be assertive without being thoughtless. I would absolutely avoid, before Mercury goes into its retrograde, because we're still in the pre-retrograde shadow time, I would avoid signing any really big deals if you can avoid it. And yes, I know Mercury's not retrograde yet, but we're in the pre-retrograde shadow time and Venus has gone retrograde. So I would, if you have to sign it, look at the fine print. I wouldn't rush to sign something, okay? On the 14th, we've got the full moon lunar eclipse. This one is happening in the sign of Virgo, so lighting up your 6th house space. Now, the 6th house here, first of all, is about your daily routines, your health, your wellness, your day-to-day activities with work, your schedule, your work environments, your co-workers, being of care or service to other people and small animals. The eclipse is like a really powerful reset button in this area of your life. And because it's a full moon lunar eclipse, it's telling us that we need to end something, acknowledge something, or to make a really big adjustment. And this is a total lunar eclipse. So this is an eclipse that acts as a catalyst for a change that will massively reshape your life. And I can tell you that, in terms of the Virgo type and archetype, it's about service, it's about healing, and it's really about letting things be as healthy and the best that they can be. So at this eclipse, I think you're really being put in a position to say, that's not healthy for me anymore, or that's an old idea, that's an old belief, something like that. So in the area of your health, your daily routine, your work, being of care to someone, you may be really relooking at and have the highlighter on, okay, where does this daily habit either support or hinder some portion of my well-being, even if that's your mental health and well-being? Because Virgo's energy here is going to encourage that purification, going to encourage organization, taking a practical approach to your daily life, whether that be physical or emotional. So, declutter your workspace, volunteer, or do something that allows you to engage in some kind of service, take care of your health. Now, one thing we do want to still remember is that Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is getting ready for this retrograde, so some of the energy is going to slow down. It's a good idea not to overcommit to work or scheduling responsibilities because it can come at the expense of your health. And this energy is going to rock and roll with you really for the next year. I would be paying attention to that. Okay, on the 15th, we see Mercury now take this retrograde in your sign, in this first house. So when I'm telling you, you are rethinking the narrative of who is Aries. That is what I mean, because this retrograde, it is this time to reassess how you express yourself, right? How are you speaking? How do you hold your face and your mouth when you're sharing your ideas? It can bring back old thoughts, old ideas, or even Aries, I think old labels or old titles that you've outgrown, right? Because the first house governs that persona, the mask or the role or the title that we've carried as well. So during this retrograde time, the universe can be stepping right there side to side with you and asking you to re-examine whether or not that role, that mask, that title is still authentic, or if it's time to go on ahead and have that update. So I would encourage you, or I would invite you to reflect on something simple, even how do you introduce yourself to new people? And does that really match who you are today? I caught myself, introducing myself by a standard of when I was like 36 years old. I'm 42. Right? So look at that. Or how are you even introducing yourself at this particular point? Okay. On the 20th, happy birthday, beautiful Aries friends. It is birthday time, your annual solar return. Aries energies, if you have not gotten your solar return chart, I would highly encourage you to do so you can see where the real illumination for your year is at. But the sun is bringing light, heat, life, and vitality to a very busy Aries energy. Everything is activating this Aries point. It's like go, 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 go. The energy feels like new, 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 new. And it is, although it is going to take us a little bit of time for what you're planting and what you're designing to finish playing out. But as the sun enters here, it is your personal rebirth. Happy birthday. The spotlight is on you. It's on your individuality. It's on your purpose. It's on that beautiful Aries courage that you have. And because the sun in astrology represents your core essence, and it moves through this first house, that house of self. I also think that you will like this energy because there's a sense of vitality. There's a sense of that courage meets confidence. And either way, whatever it is, it's an invitation to step forward as the hero or the heroine of your own story. So set your birthday seeds of intention that focus on your self-growth, that focus on you being a leader in your own life, in your own physical activity, in your own exercise, right? I love this birthday time for you this year, Aries. On the 27th, we've got that Venus retrograde now sliding back out of the retrograde path in Aries and back into Pisces. There is such a dance between the Aries and the Pisces energies, right? There's this place where I need to initiate something and move something forward and have the courage to do it, but then I need to back up and I need to integrate it. Pisces is so much about the integration, but this particular slide back is going to be in your 12th house. So the essence here is about surrender. It's about healing, but we're looking in the 12th house space. It's the domain of your subconscious, your dreams, endings, your spiritual realm, the place where our own undoing or habits or behaviors that can become our own undoing are living. So when Venus is retrograding here, the offer is the opportunity to heal hidden wounds, especially related to love, to worth, to spiritual connection. For some of you, if there was someone in your life who died, killed themselves, or is no longer in your life in some way, it's like you're also able to have this review of forgiveness and transition, right? It's a deeply introspective time where I think nostalgia presents itself, old love stories, especially any kind of love story or bond that you've had with someone that has been tied to sacrifice, martyrdom, the illusions we've had about how valuable this person or this idea is to us. And it's resurfacing for closure because it's like that's not actually valuable anymore. So I would encourage you at this point in the retrograde path to look at where you can practice a lot of forgiveness. Where are you with valuing true forgiveness for yourself and for others? And this will come from a place of, some kind of spiritual practicing, journaling, praying, energy healing, whatever it is. This is a nurturing to your soul for sure. When we get to the 29th, we've got the last eclipse happening in your sign. The new moon solar eclipse is happening in Aries. So again, boom, we've got more in the Aries energy. And this eclipse is not only are you having this rebirth because it's your birthday time, right? But also this is going to be a more profound rebirth because again, we've got this house of the self. So this is an opportunity to plant your seeds of intention that align with the highest vision of who you are and who you are becoming, right? You've spent the last 18 months with the nodes traveling through your sign. You have moved towards your destiny. Even if you don't feel like you're all the way on the track, Aries, something inside of you is calling for the courage to plant your seeds. Where do you want to go? Who do you want to be next? How do you want to be known next? Right? This is going to be a really powerful moon to do that because it's literally lighting up a new astrological cycle for you. Now, eclipses tend to accelerate the timelines that we're on also. So this is why I say, and this is why you're going to hear astrologers left and right saying, pay attention, Aries, pay attention, because creating the powerful shifts of those timelines, things can feel sudden. It can feel really sudden, right? But they're deeply aligned with something more deeply within is like in the right alignment. So, if you're a person who takes the eclipse time to do rituals, initiations, any of these kind of symbolic things, if you just make space for this next phase of your life, whatever it is, I encourage you to embrace something that allows you to focus on that self-discovery and take the opportunities for leadership that are presented to you, okay? End of the month, big news. We've got an outer planet, Neptune, moving into the vibration of Aries. So you can see that all month long, the Aries point, which is 0 degrees of Aries, has been activated. And it is no small deal that is what's coming to pass. So as we see Neptune move into the vibration of Aries here, this is the visionary version of you, right? Before things were things, they were just a vision. So as Neptune steps into this first house, and it's bringing the mystical into a merging with the physical. So this transit is an initiation. It's initiating a period of time of becoming, I think, a spiritual warrior, right? Where you not only dream of the change that you want, but you start to embody it, because we can have an idea or an ideal, but until we start trying to live that thing, you don't actually know if you're in alignment with it or not. So I think that this transit, while we won't have it for the entire year, it is calling for living in alignment with your highest ideals, expressing your truths, but you express those truths this time not through just some esoteric being. You express them through your actions. And if your actions are coming from a place that is more deeply rooted and something that can govern through humility, I think you have a lot of power to work with. I would encourage you here to heal, right? Heal through engaging in creative and spiritual practices, especially ones that align with who you really truly are currently, who you are finding out you are. More than that, Aries, I invite you to the table of allowing your intuition to guide you, to be the one who is not only inspired by other people living a certain way, but is doing the inspiring as well. Because it all comes down to Aries, I think, with Neptune and Aries for you. Are you walking your talk? And I think you're going to be able to do it. Now, it is still Neptune. And like I said, we're not going to have this transit for the entirety of the year. So we're just getting a little dip in here to visit with this Neptunian energy. It can be confusing. I'm confusing my identity with illusion. And the best way that we can work with this is, first of all, don't over-identify with any kind of label that presents itself. Allow yourself to be a bit fluid, a bit adaptable. Stay grounded in what you believe to be the truth until you are otherwise presented with any kind of other information. All right, my beautiful Aries, I hope you have a gorgeous month. I love you a ton. I look forward to working with you, walking with you all month long. Make sure you pick up your Venus Reset program because we are doing some good work in that pelvic bowl. You got to be clear on what you want if you would like to have it. I love you, Aries. Have a good month. My absolutely beautiful Taurus friends, and welcome to your horoscope for March of 2025, where Taurus this month is one of the busiest months that we have. In fact, I think it is the busiest month that we have in 2025, and there is a lot of energy coming to the Aries point. So much is happening in the Aries energy, and right off the bat, what we have to acknowledge of what this means in terms of your energy is that there's a lot going on in your 12th house space. So this month, Taurus, has so much to do with a rebirth, spiritual cleansing, preparing for new beginnings. Because when we're talking about the 12th house, we're talking about the house of the things that are unseen or they're hidden, they're behind the scenes. There's a lot of spirituality that goes into it. So in the 12th house, as you consider where things are playing out for you this month, and you're going to hear me say Aries energy, Aries, 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 over and over and over again through this video, I want you to be thinking about and keeping an eye on yourself. Where in subconscious patterns are things starting to show up and they're becoming conscious for you? You're seeing endings. There's more of a call for a higher power or things around spirituality. There have been hidden enemies that you didn't know were there, and sometimes you're your own hidden enemy, right? And then it becomes known. What's going on in your dreams? Are you having these interactions this month where you're like, this is karma. I understand this is karma. This is bringing something full circle, or this is my dharma. I can feel it. This is a payback to me for something that I've done well before. Whichever it is, there's a significant amount of energy going on in this house. So it is going to be a month of healing, of introspection for you, things going on behind the scenes, but also remembering that you're in preparation this month for a new cycle that fully emerges as we're coming around to Taurus season. So remember, you are planting and making a beautiful place for yourself to rest and reflect before birthday time. Now let's get in here and talk about all that's going on this month, because we've got retrogrades and eclipses. We've got Neptune moving into Aries. Oh my. So right at the beginning of the month, on the 1st, we've got Venus, your ruling planet, turning retrograde in the vibration of Aries. Now, Venus is going retrograde to begin at 10 degrees of Aries, so make sure you're also grabbing your natal chart so you can see exactly where that is for you. Now, this is of important information to you because Venus is your ruling planet. So sometimes when the planetary ruler goes retrograde, we can feel a little bit off our game, right? We feel it more deeply. And this could be the case here for sure. Not to mention, Venus is going retrograde in this 12th house space. So we can feel like things get dampened a little bit. Even if things are moving forward, even if something that you're growing and you're going to start initiating, developing, you're getting the subconscious thinking switched around, it may not feel like it's entirely online for you just yet until we get into April. But what I'm not saying is nothing's happening. You're going to have to wait forever for your life to happen. What I'm saying is trust the universe. Let this thing unfold. Because as Venus is retrograding through this 12th house space, it pulls the focus away from the external relationships, and it's going to pull it more into the depths of your own soul, your own being, your own functioning, your own behavior patterns, your own things that can keep you, right? Keep you in your own undoing. It's a transit that's really more about an invitation to heal those things. Now, it is Venus retrograde, so karmic love, looking at healing old wounds, old love wounds, old financial wounds, karmic attachments can be released as you're going through this retrograde. But whatever it is, there is a pattern of confronting things that have been hidden, for you. And I do think that some of these things are going to present themselves, Taurus, as is the Taurus life, around self-worth and relationships, especially because the 12th house, it's a realm that's hidden from our consciousness, our conscious awareness. It's a place where we can suppress emotions, fears, desires. So as Venus comes here, it brings back these old things or these old ideas or old lovers, and it's not necessarily in the physical sense, but it's in the realm of a dream or a memory or a sense that you're feeling, and it's offering a chance to find closure at that deeper place, right? So I would just encourage you, as you're experiencing the Aries energy, especially the Venus retrograde, first and foremost, create a sacred space where you can connect with your own inner world, whether that's journaling, whether that's art, whether it's some kind of ritual. I encourage you highly to bring things like music and dance more prominently into your life this month so that you can literally dance it out. Get the story of these old loves, these old financial things out of your hips, out of your body, and allow yourself some space to practice forgiveness and release yourself from the past hurts, the disappointments, the past loves, right? So hopefully you're taking the Venus Reset program as well, since it's on sale during the Venus retrograde. Okay, on the 3rd, we've got Mercury moving into Aries, and Mercury is also going to go retrograde this month. But as Mercury goes retrograde in Aries, it's also in the 12th house. But this is more about bringing the messages from your subconscious, okay? So as Mercury, the messenger, is traveling through the 12th house, it can be like a whisper from your soul, right? It brings this heightened intuition. The dreams get a little bit more vivid. Messages may not make a lot of logical sense, at least at first, but they do hold a truth. And something deep within you knows it way before your head knows it. So I think that this energy is excellent for guiding you in your spiritual practices, because you have a better space to hear your inner dialogue, reflect, put those things in writing, and just if you keep in mind that communication at this time during this transit, especially as Mercury is going to go retrograde, may feel really indirect. And you could even be so sensitive, Taurus, that you're like, I actually just need a little bit more solitude. I'm finding it hard to articulate my thoughts. I'm finding it challenging to really get it out there. And I need a time to just paint, to move, to draw, to get the story out of me, instead of focusing on communication and making those words come out. I would just trust it this month. Lean into the symbolic, lean into the creative expression, lean into the joy. You are made of Venusian energy. Don't forget to take joy in the way that you reflect communication, even in the story of your body, right? So I just invite you to bring all of this into your world. And if you feel drawn to those old books, those old movies, if you need a little Netflix and chill, or something's evoking a strong memory from you, go towards it. As we get to the 14th, we're going to see the full moon lunar eclipse happening in Virgo, lighting up your 5th house space. Now, the full moon is still the full moon. It asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. However, this is an eclipse, okay? So this eclipse is a total lunar eclipse. It's going to be a complete reset. And for you, Taurus, this is in that 5th house of pleasure, of play, of creativity, of being willing to take a risk, of joy, of self-expression, romance, your inner child, your children or children figures around you. So this is really calling a lot of attention to the fact that something is ending. Maybe you've had too much control. It's needed to look too routine or something like that. Or maybe you don't have a routine of joy in your life, right? When is the last time you deeply connected with your Venusian energy and you allowed luscious pleasure and play to be a part of your life? Not just as I took a shower and that's the end of it. When was it a luxurious shower where you appreciated and loved on your body in that way? Well, this eclipse here is going to shine a spotlight on where you may be blocking your joy or you're holding back creativity. And creativity is not just painting. right? Creativity can be, how do you creatively call resources to you? How do you creatively engage with each one of your family members in a way that really allows you guys to be connected? When do you play? When do you dance? When do you sway those hips, beautiful Tauran, right? Because Virgo's influence here is going to add this layer of practicality. It's nice and earthy, just like you are. And so you need to analyze the structures around you, very earthborn. It's a very, you can touch it, material world kind of thing, but you've got to be able to have play and pleasure in there as well. So this is going to be a time, the node is also in Virgo as well. It is going to be a time and a season where I think you're going to be practicing releasing perfectionism and such stringent routine, especially in creative projects. Let go of some expectation, especially in romance, right? Like, what does this need to look like to have a little bit of flow and not be so tight to what things have to look like? And ultimately, it brings you to a space where you can really reconnect with what brings genuine joy, what brings self-expression for you. How do your children get to express themselves, or are they not able to express themselves because something is blocking them, you know? So I want to just issue an invitation to you here. Because this is the 5th house, and yes, your children are in here as well, so I would really be watching for stories around children. I want to invite you to reflect on your own childhood. What did you love to do? You know, reintroduce a bit of that innocence and that innocent play and joy into your life. And if you came from a childhood that was more rough, right, take the time to ask that child if the situation allowed for more pleasure and play, which it maybe does today. What would you do with it? How would you create? What creative projects could allow you to free up some expression? It's a really big eclipse, actually. All right, on the 15th, now we've got Mercury turning retrograde in Aries in that 12th house space. So you are rethinking these subconscious patterns and behaviors. The full encouragement here is about reviewing what's hidden, the hidden thoughts, the old traumas, the old beliefs. You know, it's a potent time when you get a retrograde through your 12th house, because shadow work comes to the table. Venus, your ruling planet, is also retrograde in this area. So, you know, where are you confronting fears about material resources? Where are you confronting places where you need to release a lot of mental clutter? Where, you know, what stories have you been told about being allowed to have pleasure and play and being soft but not weak in your life? Where are you reclaiming things within your own being because you truly value them? This retrograde is potent for that. And it's also going to bring, I think, things up in your dreams with profound messages that come to you, insights from the past. And, you know, it's the universe coming up to issue you an invitation to engage. Because this is Mercury, though, we can't get away from the fact that it's also the mind. Your mind during this time can be a little bit more receptive to the symbols, the metaphors, the intuitive hits that come to you, rather than that straightforward logic that I was talking about. So, you know, enjoy the conversations, journal, do therapy, look for the breakthroughs that are going to present themselves, because you're ready to talk about it or see it from a different way. All right, the 27th brings Venus, still in retrograde, but sliding back now into the Pisces vibration, so lighting up your 11th house space. So we're going to revisit the value of your friendships, your dreams, your social circles, your tribe. Do you have a tribe, right? Even your technological features come up here as well, because the 11th house is all about community, friends, friendships, your long-term goals and aspirations, humanitarian efforts, social media, these kinds of things. But as Venus is taking the retrograde here, it's bringing a chance to reevaluate who you are aligned with socially and whether or not that alignment is going to be good for your long-term goals. But also, I think, a chance to say, well, do my long-term goals still resonate with me? What I wanted for myself over the last 8 years, is it true? Do I still want that? And if it is something that I still want, and I'm spending my time with a group of people or an organization that are not pointing me in that direction, how can I realign myself, right? And that realignment will be a lot easier to do as we get to the summertime. Now, it's still Venus retrograde. Old friends can appear. and it offers an opportunity for closure, for reconnection, to, just reevaluate it. So just to consider that as well, okay? Now, last thing I want to say is that in terms of just really like social circles, social media and things like that, I do think it's an opportunity to assess whether or not you are the kind of friend who is also supporting the people in your tribe, right? Not just about, are you rightly aligned with them so they can help you get where you want to go, but vice versa. Are you being the kind of friend that can, encourage and shift your friendship groups, shift your social circles towards the direction that you want those communities and friendships to be really, truly spiritually aligned and nourishing in. So enjoy the reconnection and let me know as you're going along who's come back into your life. As we're closing out the month, big news, we've got Neptune shifting into Aries as well. So this is where we get the spiritual idealistic warrior coming to the table. Now, Neptune is not going to stay here. It's here for a short jaunt before we really connect with it more in January of 2026. But Neptune entering the 12th house is typically a 12th house kind of vibration. But it begins a cycle of spiritual awakening and a lot more, you can't see me, I do my air quotes, my mystical experiences is what I want to call them, because this transit is about dissolving the ego. It will dissolve the ego, right? So in your spiritual practice, in your creativity, and the things that you've been blocking your own blessings, it's easier to put the ego down because you're less afraid. And instead, we move towards embracing like a higher purpose for what we're doing. But this gets done by Neptune here asking us for surrender. Now, sometimes it's going to demand, right? So sometimes you're going to be surrendering willingly, sometimes not, but it does ask for this surrender and allowing life to guide you rather than trying to control everything. And in the middle, being able to understand that I can ask for what I really want, what I really value, get in alignment with what I really value, which is very Venus retrograde, and then trust that the universe is going to, bring those signals to me. So it's really an energy that I think not only increases a lot of your psychic sense or your intuitive sense to connect with the understanding of what I'm saying, but it's also going to be really energetically sensitive to boundaries, right? There are boundaries. If I really want to have this particular experience, my ego has to get out of the way. I cannot solve this. I cannot help heal. I cannot move forward if it's all egoic. So the first thing I just want to tell you is you've got some months here with this Neptune traveling here to really develop a spiritual practice. Come to the question of, what do you call God? What do you call a higher power? What do you call that? And what kind of practice grounds you, protects your energy? Prayer, meditation, visualization. Are you doing something in past life regression? What are the deep healing modalities? Reiki, healing, art, poetry. What are you doing? The things we do want to pay attention to as Neptune moves into Aries is escapism, especially through fantasy, addiction, and avoiding behaviors. The other thing that I think can really turn up the heat is taking on the role of the martyr. Help others, but keep the boundaries strong, Taurus, okay? All right, my beautiful friends, it's a busy month. There's a lot going on. And remember, things are unfolding. They are happening. We are in Aries season. Everything's kicking off now, even though you may not see everything fully stabilize until we actually get into Taurus season and start to move towards the summer. But it is happening. It is here. I love you a ton, Taurus. I hope you have an absolutely beautiful March, and I will see you in April. Beautiful Gemini friends, and welcome to your horoscope for March of 2025, where this month we've got retrogrades, eclipses, Neptune moving into Aries. It is a busy month. It is our busiest month. And with all the busyness that is happening, Gemini, it's like, yeah, things are going to be shifting and changing. And I just want to say, not so fast. They are going to shift. They are going to change. But when we take our official launch forward, you may not feel the full weight of it here in March, but the changes are here. Now, so much of the month really for you, Gemini, is about your community connections. It's about revisiting dreams and inspirations and ideas that you have for yourself. But it's also really about friendships. and how you are aligning with your friendships. What do your friendships look like? Are you leading in groups? These kinds of things. The grouping is going to be the theme of your month because the 11th house is so heavy where that Aries energy is at for you. So it's a fully activated 11th house month. Now, if you're one of our Gemini friends who's a little bit newer, the 11th house governs friendships, community, social networks, your long-term goals, dreams, and designs for yourself, and any kind of group or like social affiliation that you have here. And with this being ruled in Aries energy for you, the focus is not only on that collective work, but also refining or redefining your place within those connections. So it is a busy month. Let's get into it. Right at the beginning on March 1st, we've got Venus turning retrograde in that Aries energy. So again, lighting up your 11th house space. Now, this is going to bring us into that space of reevaluating friendships, reevaluating those social connections, because Venus here is bringing a really reflective tone, but it's about reclamation. You need to reclaim it. But first, we have to reflect on your social life, your long-term dreams, your friendships. And this is a time to really assess the value of your friendships or your group connections. And you're determining if those things are in alignment with your values. Are they in alignment with the values of who you are becoming? This is the time to look back and look over, okay? Now, a retrograde can also bring back old friends, old social connections, and it's really offering a chance for a reconnection to bring some kind of closure usually. So this energy is also going to have this influence, like I said, on your dreams or your aspirations that you have. So I want to just speak to that for a minute. The question here with Venus retrograde is, are your dreams still true? Are they a true reflection of what it is that you value and what you desire for yourself? Or are they remnants of like an old version of you, an old version of what you wanted? And sometimes what happens is we could reconnect with someone like an old friend or something, and you're like, wow, I don't actually want that anymore. And it can create a whole life rearrangement. On the 3rd, we're going to see Mercury now enter into Aries, getting ready for its retrograde as well. And as Mercury comes into Aries, we have a lot more forceful, the tongue is more forceful, right? Because Mercury entering into this 11th house space is going to encourage you to share your ideas, share within your communities, your friends, explore. Mercury is incredibly curious as an energy, so this is a great time for you to explore any new concepts that are related to things like tech, AI, social groups, professional networks. This would be a great month for any of those kinds of groupings. Now, with Aries being the energy, there can be a bit of urgency. You know, the tongue is quick. You feel like you want to communicate your vision. You really want to add your voice to a group dialogue, to the internet, to whatever. And I think that it is great. Just be mindful that the tongue can be a bit impulsive, but it is an excellent idea. If you needed to make a proposal or put something out there, you want to get investors, you want to collaborate on projects, if they're a brainstorming session for those of you in some kind of educational place, whatever it is, Aries is adding a bit of boldness and a willingness to take the lead and put yourself out there, which can be really good for whatever you're working on. On the 14th, we've got the full moon lunar eclipse happening in Virgo, and this is going to light up your 4th house space, Gemini. So this is a total eclipse. Okay, this is a total eclipse. This is a full reset. This is not a half deal. This is a full reset. This area of your chart will be getting massively different in the next 6 months, the Virgo area of your chart. And it's really a lot about emotional cleansing, home healing, releasing of things. The full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment, right? We have to pivot in a very big way at this eclipse. And in the 4th house, we're looking at home, family, real estate, property, your own inner emotional security and foundations. And so this eclipse is bringing to light any of the hidden dynamics within your family life. And it's going to ask you, along with the South Node being in Virgo, to let go of old patterns, Gemini. They're not serving you anymore. Look at it, reflect on it. Is this still serving you? Is this relationship dynamic? Is this belief dynamic the very best that it could be? Right? Because Virgo's influence here is going to offer not only the need to release things so that it can actually grow and be more lush and full, but a practical approach to it, right? I like practical approaches to healing, to detoxing, and at home, it can not only be your physical space, maybe you're detoxing your living room. You're getting rid of those clothes that don't fit anymore, but also your emotional world. So this energy here is highly charged, but super supportive of restructuring your home environment, whether that is your living environment, your setting of boundaries within your family, but certainly engaging in a fair amount of healing work related to your family dynamics. So, for some of you, you're going to see that it brings to close some really long-standing home or family-related matters, right? And this does include, just to be clear, if you had like a property deal or a family will or inheritance dispute, you could see some of that becoming undone at this time as well. On the 15th, now Mercury is going to turn retrograde there in that Aries energy. So make sure you're definitely looking at where this is at in your chart, just beyond the general. So as Mercury is retrograding here in this 11th house, it is a time to rethink your friendships, rethink your community roles, rethink your social circles, your long-term aspirations. And again, you may be in this space because Venus is also here. You may be reconnecting with old contacts, networks, old friends. For some of you, I think you're going to really be reconsidering your place. Like, do I really belong in this group or this community, right? You've had some previous ideas. This was the best alignment. And now you're going, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is exactly how I'd like to align over here. And remember, this transit, while it is retrograde, so it's going backwards and not a great time for doing a lot of new things, it is encouraging your review. Relook at your social media presence. Relook at your network, your friendships, and definitely get down to redefining or refining your long-term vision and your ideals and your goals that you want. For some of you too, I have to say this, it's interesting. Mercury retrograde in the friendship zone can sometimes, it reveals a hidden truth. And that is what makes you readjust your connection to someone or to a group. On the 20th, the sun enters into Aries, so you can see that your 11th house is very busy. It has got your attention. And the sun here is bringing light, heat, life, and vitality, so it's really illuminating your role in this very social and collective energy. It's shining this light on how you contribute to friendships, how you contribute to groups and to the collective consciousness as well. So it's a time here for you, Gemini, to step into more leadership roles, right? Share your vision. Inspire others with your ideas. Go back to old communities that maybe you were a part of and go, okay, I'm ready to take a speaking position, or, step up to the top, because the sun is bringing clarity, bringing confidence. There's a lot of encouragement here to express yourself in the context of community or organization or something like that. So this is the transit to connect and do that. But you're connecting again with like-minded individuals, and this is about contributing positively to some kind of movement or friendship or network that is going forward. On the 29th, now we've got a new moon solar eclipse. This one's also in Aries. So this is your new vision for your community, your friendship, your dreams, right? The solar eclipse here is where we're planting our seeds of intention, but this is the last one happening in Aries, so we're actually leaving on a really cool note. And we've had this total eclipse earlier in the month in Virgo as well, so this solar eclipse here in your 11th house, this is a powerful reset in your social life. A powerful reset in your long-term goals, Gemini. It's really just so delicious. And eclipses can tend to bring, at least solar eclipses, can tend to bring sudden changes or a revelation. And really the thing I want to tell you is it's also being in Aries, it can accelerate, right? It's like, whoa, that happened really fast. The timeline just really got sped up. So this is a time where I will tell you, be very choosy. Be very choosy. Make this lunation ceremony for yourself. Set your seeds of intention around the communities that you want, the friendships that you want, the kind of support that you need in your friendship zones, and to be a good friend as well, but be choosy, right? Be very specific, because what you plant is going to grow for good or for ill. And it's not for 4 weeks. It's going to be for at least 6 months or longer. Okay. So be very Aries about it. Take a bold kind of pioneering step towards what it is that you want in your grouping life. Now, as we're going to close out the month, we get to March 30th, and now we've got Neptune moving into Aries as well. And the vision I want to hand to you is visionary leadership. Moving and working in an inspired way with communities, because this is where Neptune is going to light up this 11th house energy for you. It initiates a spiritual and creative approach to all your friendships, your social media, your community, trusting your intuition. This is the ideal energy for any kind of visionary work, leading with compassion, contributing to collective healing, right? Because Neptune comes and dissolves those boundaries. So it allows you to see the interconnectedness of the people around you. And I think to you, Gemini, at this time, it's really going to be very inspiring, right? It inspires you to want to be of service. It's inspiring a goodness. It's inspiring a forgiveness as well. So it's a lovely transit to experience. And I can tell you that if you create or participate in projects that bring any kind of sense of inspiration or magic to a community, this will feed your soul really well. The avoidance piece we are going to pay attention to, because this is a new transit. Even though we are not going to be with it the entire rest of the year, we're going to have it and then have a little break. But becoming overly idealistic about groups or causes is not going to be it, because you will lose your identity within that community you're trying to be helpful and be inspired to. So maintain those healthy boundaries and stay grounded, okay? All right, my beautiful Geminis, I hope you have a gorgeous month. Let me know how it goes in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time. My absolutely beautiful Cancerian friends, and welcome to your horoscope for March of 2025, or this month. Yes, it is our busiest month of the year. There's a lot of energy coming in, and while it's very, very busy, I just want to be clear that many things are shifting and changing directions, but it is still of the energetic signature that we don't know the full landing of everything until we're starting to get closer to the summer. So I want to celebrate what's happening here in March, because energetically it is a lot, and we gather to talk about what's happening and what's coming so that we can navigate, as gracefully and as powerfully as we can. But I want to be clear that it's not just like, oh, this is a busy month, it all happens right now. This is like the setup or the initiation to a lot of what is coming. And so much of what's happening this month for you is happening in fellow cardinal energy, Aries. Aries season is bringing so much attention for you, Cancer, to your 10th house space. So this is an amazing time where your career reassessment, your public image, how you see yourself, your professional direction, how you are spiritually aligned and being that visionary leader in your own life. This is a big month for that. So for some of our Cancerians who are a little bit newer to astrology, when we're talking about the 10th house space, we're talking about the house of your career, your public reputation, or how we see you in public. So this can also be, maybe we know you as the mayor of your town, but we also may know you as mother or father or grandmother. What is the title that people call you in public that is your public reputation, okay? So when we're talking about the 10th house, we're looking at that particular area. What are these professional goals? Your achievements, your public roles, ambitions that you have, and certainly in any way how you are perceived by the world. So this month, with such a significant focus in this area, you have an emphasis on developing something in your career, refining what it is that we call you in public, and being really clear with what are some authentic current aspirations for you in your work and reputation life, okay? Let's jump in because we have a lot to talk about. So right here on the first, we've got Venus going retrograde in this Aries energy of your chart. So this is a lot about reevaluating that career, but it's the desire. Venus, everything starts in desire before it can be achieved. So with Venus here, what is your career or your public image, your reputation desire? Because Venus retrograde here is going to ask you to revisit your personal life, your professional life, excuse me. It's going to ask you to revisit that reputation. situation. And it's going to ask you to revisit, what is the long game? What do you want here? What's the ambition for the long game here? Okay. And this transit is about reclamation, encouraging you to reflect on your work aligns with your values and whether how you're showing up really in your life in general, whether it's in alignment with the public image and reputation that you want to be carrying around. Does this really reflect who you are? And because it's a retrograde, it is interesting. There are some signatures here for your Cancerian energy that an old professional opportunity comes back to the table. And that's cool because maybe it offers you a chance at, some kind of redemption. Maybe you had a workman's comp case or something like that, and then you get to bring it to closure. So this is going to be an energy that I think is really interesting, but have no doubt that it is calling you back for a reclamation and a review. Now, last thing I just want to say about this particular retrograde is that, first of all, I did the Venus retrograde series that we put together for you guys, 4 beautiful talks. Please step in and see how this Venus retrograde is really working for you. But this energy can also bring a focus to the relationships themselves within the workplace or even within your home, wherever you have some kind of ambitious partnership, right? Your relationship, Cancer, with authority figures or that you perceive to be an authority, this can be an energy where you're looking at how do you kind of approach harmony in your relationship environment as well. So let me know how it's going. It's going to be a good retrograde though. It's very active. On the 3rd, we've got Mercury entering into the vibration of Aries. And right now, Mercury is direct, it's dynamic. So you've got a lot of communication that is happening at this time. And Mercury here in Aries is sharp. It's sharp, it's focused, you've got good, clear communication, you're public speaking, you're professionally planning and doing these strategies. That Aries influence is going to be more pioneering and a bit more bold. So it really is this encouragement for you to, first of all, lead with your chest out, but also lead with your voice out. Share your ideas, especially in your professional or your reputation sphere, right? Because this transit supports that. It's going to support, I need to do this presentation. I got to go into this negotiation with the lawyer, with another company, right? And it also supports you being decisive. You're decisive. You're like, no, I'm decisive. I'm going to take my career in this direction, or I know that I desire to go in this direction, so I'm going to put myself in the places to make that happen. However, here's a caveat, okay? Aries energy sits square to yours, so sometimes it can feel like pressure. I'm pressured to start something, and it can make you impulsive in your communication. So it's really essential, I think, that you balance this month, whatever boldness and whatever assertion you're going to take on with a fair amount of tact as well, okay? Because, if you go in there and you just bite everybody's head off and you're leading the meeting, but you're the only one that's allowed to talk or something like that, yours is the only voice heard, that's going to cause a fair amount of problem. On the 14th, we've got a full moon lunar eclipse happening in Virgo, and this is a total lunar eclipse. So this is a complete reset to this area of your life, and this lights up your 3rd house space, Cancer. Okay, so when I'm saying that this is a total reset, this area of your life is getting ready to look incredibly, incredibly different. Because the 3rd house, first of all, it governs communication, learning, your relationships with your siblings, your neighbors, but also like short-term plans or trips or things like that. If you were writing a book or you were working on a website, all of the writing that goes into there comes up as well. The full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment, okay? And because it's an eclipse, this is about bringing closure, bringing that revelation, but you're doing it in a really heightened sense of awareness of where the change is coming or where you need to pivot. So how do you communicate and process information? What kind of information are you communicating and processing? Is there something going on with a sibling? This energy is going to support releasing outdated stories, outdated thought and communication patterns. It'll bring up a different kind of order, Virgo, very ordered, a different kind of efficiency and clarity in your communication to all of your daily communications, but certainly to things that are happening in the third house. Because Virgo's influence, I do like this. I'm a Virgo rising. That's probably why I like it. But Virgo's influence here adds a lot of layer of practicality. It's like in the material world, you have to be able to communicate with some efficiency and you have to be able to use your discernment. So Virgo's energy helps you refine how you give and receive and process information, because you really want your communication to be the very best that it can be. And that's the gift of Virgo, is letting things be the very best that they can be. So I would encourage you at this particular lunar eclipse to be, first of all, if you have a writing project that you've been working on, clear it out, get it done, complete those writing projects, go back to old notes, old ideas that you have, and bring some things to completion. If there is a conversation with a sibling or a contract that you needed to go over, engage it really honestly. But I really want to say this about your siblings. Have healing conversations with your siblings or your cousins or your close relatives, if that's what that needs to be, because this area of your chart is getting really, really different. So what you see here is not what you're going to see here in about 6 months. March 15th brings us to Mercury now stepping into its retrograde here in this vibration of Aries. So you're revisiting those career strategies. You're revisiting that public reputation here, because Mercury is going to ask you to rethink it. Rethink this. Let's rethink this professional strategy. What's the strategy we're using to get what it is that we desire? What is that messaging? You know, and in your social media, is this the kind of messaging you want going out and how you're sharing your information, especially in a career way? Is this the kind of messaging you want? And I really think, too, you're another year older. It's a great time to reconsider your career goals. Is there a past professional opportunity that is again going to come back to you? It's more retrograde energy. Venus was already bringing something on the way, and now Mercury may give it another push. And so maybe there's an old opportunity or past opportunity that comes up, or there's like, you know, it's a revelation of some variety. And it's like, whoa, okay, hold on. I need to go back and I need to correct that, because I did say that in the past, but I don't mean that today. You know what I mean? Like a miscommunication that has been affecting your public image or your reputation and even in your family. And you're like, oh, I need to adjust that. So for those of you who needed a really powerful time to be relooking at your contracts, any communications about career stuff, business plans, you need to write an actual business plan. This Mercury retrograde is a time to do it. If you've been wanting to rebrand, this is a fantastic Mercury retrograde to be able to do that. On the 20th, the sun moves into the vibration of Aries. So this is going to really have that next illumination of your professional path, because the sun brings light, heat, life, and vitality. And it's going to move it into this 10th house, where it's going to encourage you to step into the spotlight professionally. You've got so much going on professionally this month that I don't think you have to worry about being in the spotlight, but this is a great and ideal next 4 weeks for setting your professional goals, step into that leadership role. Yes, apply for that promotion if that's you, right? Or to also, the sun brings a gaining of recognition for the things that you've achieved and that you have done well. So show up as your authentic self, let the work lead the way in your reputation, and showcase yourself, right? Showcase yourself, whether it's a presentation, a project, you're public speaking, you're creating a plan, you're taking initiative. The sun here is on your side. Now, as we are going to get to the end of the month and we're getting to the 30th, we're going to see that Neptune enters into the vibration of Aries. Okay, as Neptune comes into this vibration of Aries, it too is going to light up your 10th house space. So as we're experiencing Neptune now bringing its energy into this space, we're going to be looking at bringing a bridge between what is mythical and mystical and visionary into a more tangible public image, a more public, professional space, right? Because this energy is going to support this intuitive blending of leadership where there's an opportunity. But the opportunity that you have here, Cancer, is to inspire someone, inspire through compassion, inspire through creativity, because Neptune here is dissolving a traditional structure. It's taking it away. It's like, no, we need to reimagine how this career world is going to work. And if it's not about being in service, we're going to have to really have a huge redefining of that particular energy. Now, let's just back up one day as well, because I forgot the next biggest eclipse. It's going to be on March 29th. We've got the new moon solar eclipse happening in Aries as well. So this is the last new moon solar eclipse that's going to be happening in Aries. Again, more energy into the 10th house. And for you, this is going to be that reset to your professional zone. Now, a solar eclipse can bring sudden changes or sudden revelations. And the other thing it can really do, Cancer, is speed up the timeline. Like you were setting a seed of intention, right? And you're thinking, oh, this is probably going to take 5-6 months to play out, or, whatever. And then it happens really quickly, especially in Aries energy. So I just want to give you a good call here to know that new projects, new jobs, new titles in the world can happen really, really quickly. Now, this is, to the positive and to the challenging. If you're saying, I think I want to get married, and then you realize you are married, you said it on Tuesday and you are married in 2 months, or you say, I think I don't want to be in this relationship anymore, and then you are not in that relationship and it changes your reputation or your name in public, right? Or you're saying, I think I want this new job, and then it is offered to you like in 3 days. So it can really shift the timeline in terms of what you're trying to bring into your world. So plant your seeds of intention and be very wise about it so that the thing you plant is really in alignment with your desire. All right, my beautiful Cancer friends, I love you a ton. Have a good month, and I'll see you next month. Beautiful Leo friends, and welcome to your horoscope for March of 2025, where we have a lot of astrology to cover this month because it is our busiest month of the year. And for you, this is an action-packed 9th house Aries energy kind of month for you. So the vision of expanding your horizons, getting a little bit more into what truths are for you, concepts around higher education, long distance travel, cultural, legal implications. This is a big year, and a lot of it also has to do with faith. So if you are one of our newer Leos who is visiting us, when we're talking about the 9th house space, the 9th house governs higher education, spirituality, long distance travel, things having to do with culture and ceremony, legal things. We're talking about things that have to do with faith and truth and the deeper, more expansive meaning. So when we're talking about March of 2025, there's so much emphasis on personal growth in this area. Because in order to grow through the 9th house, you have to explore a new belief system, something that's maybe been a little foreign to you or expands you and takes you outside of the zone where you've been. It expands your horizon. So let's jump in and talk about what this month has to offer. Right at the beginning of the month, Leo, on the 1st, we've got Venus turning retrograde in that Aries energy, so that 9th house. Now, as Venus is retrograding here, first of all, please make sure that you've checked out the Venus retrograde playlist I've put together with you with 3 other astrologers. We're really walking you through how to work with this. But for you, this is going to be a lot about reevaluating that belief system. But it's also Venusian. So you're seeking the beauty in spirituality, in faith, in the expansion of doing something that's maybe more foreign to you, right? So Venus here is going to encourage you to, first of all, have that deep reflection on your own philosophical beliefs. Our philosophies become these frameworks that guide our lives and the decisions that we're making. So from your philosophical beliefs to your spiritual practices, the 9th house also has a lot of concepts having to do with higher education. So this is a time where you might be examining, what's the value of my education? Is there joy in the education or the training that I'm taking on? What am I publishing, marketing, broadcasting? Where is my spiritual or cultural experience expanding here? Now, it is a Venus retrograde, so I'm telling you, Leo, if you feel this urge to revisit your past, revisit something that you were studying previously, or you go back to someplace, you travel to someplace that you were before, you're reconnecting spiritually in some way, this is a really good transit for it. Venus retrogrades are infamous for bringing back old relationships, old friendships, old mentors, old scenarios in your life, and it's not so that you can necessarily stay there. It's so that you can get fresh insight on it and maybe even bring a little bit of closure. On the 3rd, we see Mercury now entering into Aries, and this is dynamic, a very impulsive conversation. So here in the 9th house, first of all, Mercury is brilliant for being curious. It's our communication planet. So being curious, learning something, communicating, writing proposals, anything having to do with spirituality, travel, your higher education, this is going to be a beautiful transit that is excellent for this. If you are teaching, publishing, marketing, broadcasting, whatever you're putting out there, being able to engage in really meaningful conversation around this, especially things having to do with that wider, more world-viewed perspective, this is an energy that is here for it, because Aries is going to add the influence of bringing a lot of courage to you. You have to be bold. You have to be kind of inspired to hear a different perspective, share your personal beliefs, and just to do any kind of exploration of a new realm of knowledge or sharing yourself. That's very much so the terrain of the Aries energy. Now remember that Mercury is going to go retrograde, so you'll get a chance to review what comes up for you at this particular time. On the 14th, we've got a full moon lunar eclipse happening in Virgo, lighting up your 2nd house space. Now this is a total lunar eclipse, total. So this is a complete reset, my Leo friends. What your life looks like today, it will not look the same in 6 months, and not in some woo-woo fashion. What was here is going to be wiped out because it needs to be replaced. The 2nd house is about our material resources, money, how you make money, how you draw and bring money to yourself, your creative skills and talents that you use to bring money to you. But it's also about your personal values and your self-worth. So as we're looking at this full moon being asked to end something, acknowledge something, or to make a really big adjustment, we have a reset. This eclipse is more about bringing that culmination so that clarity can come, so that the potential endings that have maybe even been just holding on gently can go ahead and end, and you can have some peace with pivoting away from this and being on a better track for yourself. Now, Virgo's energy here is about emphasizing practicality. So we're not doing this in a very woo-woo way. It's very practical, right? Virgo says, listen, I'm going to urge you to just really do a quick assessment an efficiency assessment of, does this actually provide stability and comfort in my life? And if it doesn't, we can remember that the South Node is also traveling through this Virgo energy. So if, there's not stability in what's going on with your money, if there is not stability and comfort and joy in your value, in your self-esteem, some of the stories surrounding that you might be more willing to let go of. But I think it's still, because it's Virgo, so much more in the material realm, right? If that's not working for you, or that's just baggage, you need to let that go. One more thought here. Because the eclipse is a total, it may prompt or bring forward in you changes in how you earn money for sure. But the change is not going to be something really outside your comfort zone. It's really practical. It's a really practical, thoughtful approach to your resources. So, if you do run your own business, your own company, or you're doing something where you're sharing your gifts, you may be also in the highlight of needing to look at the connection between your self-worth and what you're charging for the services of what you're doing, to make sure that those things are in alignment. Huge, huge review of your finances and your ability to have resource stability. On the 15th, Mercury now turns retrograde in that Aries energy, so you're going to revisit these old beliefs and reconnect with things that were truths for you for a very long time, Leo, and see if they still fit. So Mercury's retrograde here, instead of being freaked out about not being able to start new things or sign new documents, it's more of an ideal time for reflecting. What is that educational goal or plan? Look at that philosophy or that spiritual practice. I love when old ideas, old teachers, old travel opportunities come up and you're able to see them now with fresh eyes or fresh insight, So the retrograde here for you can actually be really encouraging to you, Leo, to help you reconsider how you've been viewing things. And one of the best things about it, I think, is seeing where you have evolved over the last year? Where is your perspective, your opinion, your ability to hold yourself in a more expanded way definitely evolved? On the 29th, we've got a new moon solar eclipse happening here in Aries, and this will light up your 9th house space. Now, the new moon is where we're planting our seeds of intention to begin something new. And for you, again, it's in this 9th house. It's all 9th house this month. It really is. So the new moon here is going to offer a really powerful opportunity to plant your seeds of intention to what? Travel, advance yourself educationally, make a long-term vision, finish that legal deal, get new levels of faith. But the thing about the new moon solar eclipse and the fact that it's in Aries, they can sometimes bring really sudden changes or like a sudden insight to help you get in alignment. And you feel like the timeline of your life shifted, right? Like it's all happening really, really, really fast. So I would also tell you too, while that Aries energy is encouraging a lot of boldness, and I think that your fire actually likes it, you're fixed fire. So when things start moving really quickly, you're not always really into that. So I would say the best way to use this is to plant your seeds of intention, set goals that are related, of course, to your education and things like that, but be also willing and ready to understand that when you say yes to the next leg of the journey, you're going to go, and you're going to be ready to embrace some new philosophies, explore a really different culture, and see how it helps you grow and expand. Now, on the 20th, the sun also moved into Aries. I'm sorry I missed that. However, that is going to bring that light, heat, life, and vitality to the Aries section of your chart that is already so busy. Now you're just more motivated. It's a fresh start, and you're motivated to work on this area. Now, as we're going to end the month, we see Neptune coming into Aries. So as Neptune moves into Aries, this is a major transit for us for the year. Neptune here in the 9th house enhances that spiritual and philosophical and visionary wisdom. It's going to enhance your intuition, right? Here, now where you've got is the combination of the mind, the body, the action, the spirit, all aligned in this Aries energy, and Neptune leading the charge for having a deeper connection to all the things that are mythical, mystical, metaphysical, and intuitive. So this Neptune movement here, we're not going to have it for the whole rest of the year. We'll really get into this transit in 2026, but it's going to encourage you to trust your intuition. Take a more visionary approach to your 9th house area, right? If it sparks this desire for you to be like, I want to go on a pilgrimage. I want to seek something in higher education, but maybe it's a little bit more esoteric. This can be an energy to really be diving into with it. Now, Neptune can blur the lines between what is reality and what is fantasy. So it's really, really important, Leo, that as we are beginning to experience this transit, especially right off, that you find some grounding practices so that you know that you've got your feet on the earth as well. If not, it's really easy to have the confusion, the over-idealism. We're escaping the truth of reality through fantasy, or you're avoiding things, or you're over-idealizing someone or a particular philosophy, and then you find out too late that the discernment was not there, and it can actually be quite dangerous. So be paying a fair amount of attention to that. But it is an ideal month for you for studying, teaching, publishing, marketing, broadcasting, writing about things that have to do with philosophy. And of course, if you've got anything legal that is on the table, this is the month to handle that. All right, my beautiful Leos, have a beautiful month. I love you a ton. Let me know how it goes in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next month. Absolutely beautiful Virgo friends, and welcome to your horoscope for March of 2025, where Virgo this month is so busy, so dynamic. So I don't want to waste any time. I want to really jump in here. But the thing to note this month, Virgo, is that your 8th house, that Aries energy, is so loaded. It's so busy. And for some of you, if you are a newer Virgo to the astrology world, the 8th house is about the house of transformation. It's intimacy and assets. So it's going to govern all of the things like our shared resources. And that includes, yes, things that are financial, or maybe there's a death, a debt, an inheritance, but it's also going to be intimacy, deep psychological healing, right? Things that come through the lens of therapy, maybe traumas, old, really deep, ingrained like into your DNA ideas, astrology, power dynamics, rebirth. So there is such an emphasis here in March about having really profound shifts and really working on that area. You know, it's almost like when you get a massage and they really need to focus in on a certain area to help you let it go, to let it heal, and to just so that muscle can move with a deeper truth. That's very much so the sentiment of March, where we have retrogrades and we've got eclipses. So let's jump in and talk about what it is for you, Virgo. On the 1st, we've got Venus taking that retrograde in Aries, so lighting up that 8th house space. Now, hopefully, Virgo, you have checked out the Venus retrograde playlist that I've put together for you with myself, Nicholas Palomonakis, Tiffany Harlick, and Andrea Michelle, where we're going through this Venus retrograde in all these different lenses so that you can see what you're being asked to reflect and to reclaim about your world right now. All things having to do with financial ties, fears, really big emotional depths. You're really reevaluating all of that. You're reevaluating intimacy and trust and what that means, Virgo. So as you're in this period of, it's an initiation into some really deep reflection on how you're doing in your shared resources. So this is going to be a time for you to assess, of course, those financial things, assess your debts. And some of the debts look like amends that you'll owe to other people, where you need to clean up in some way, or also, though, how you engage in deeper emotional connections, right? Beyond that surface level where it might all look good, when you go a little bit deeper into your beautiful Virgo core, how are you connecting? Because Venus here is going to encourage you to explore that. Explore where power dynamics in a relationship or around money need rebalancing. And really, it usually needs a bit of forgiveness so that healing can occur as well. Now, listen, friends, it is still Venus retrograde, so there are old relationships that can absolutely be resurfacing. And it doesn't mean that the person walks up to your door or anything like that, or that you got to have them back right in front of you. They can show up in a dream, in a message, in a memory. And it's not necessarily to rekindle the whole situation, but to get a new perspective on if you still value this. What was the value of this interaction? And that's what helps you gain the closure or the clarity, okay? So financially speaking as well, because I know I always get asked about the finances in the 8th house, it is a transit that is going to support reviewing any kind of shared resource, any investment, any financial agreement that you have. If you got those student loans, right, you're really in the heart of re-looking over all of these kinds of agreements. Now, on the 3rd, we see Mercury enter into the Aries energy, and it's going to be encouraging more communication in this 8th house. And you're communicating in a focused way, in a direct way, and it's deep. You're going to be having deeper conversations, and some of those deeper conversations are just really about getting to the truth. And some of those truths may be a little bit taboo, right? You're talking about taboo subjects. Maybe you didn't really come from a place where they were discussing intimacy or money or astrology or your psychological healing in the way that you need to be discovering it now. And that's what I like about the Aries vibration adding to this month, is that it's going to bring a fair amount of courage and help you confront that, help you have that really focused, direct conversation. Now, whatever comes up, we'll see it again in the Mercury retrograde in about a week, so don't worry, things are still going to shift. On the 14th, full moon lunar eclipse happening in your sign. And this is big news, Virgo, because this is a total lunar eclipse. So this is a complete resetting. Something about you is being asked to end, to have you acknowledge it or make an adjustment or a pivot in a different direction, because the eclipse is going to completely blot out and thus reset the area of yourself, your identity, how you physically appear, your own body, how you're physically appearing to other people. How do you represent and present yourself to the world? This eclipse is going to bring those revelations, those changes, those endings that you're needed, but it is about doing it like a Virgo in a way that is practical, touchable, tangible. It's more about refining how you show up in life so that you're outdating any old, or you're not outdating. You are outgrowing and shedding away any outdated self-images, old habits, old behaviors, because they're just no longer in alignment with who you're ready to become, right? So it's a really nice cleansing eclipse, but it doesn't always feel that way, but that is the intention of it. Now, on the 15th, Mercury is going to step into that retrograde in Aries. So you're going to revisit all of those things that really started to come up under that eclipse energy. So you're revisiting those financial and emotional ties. You're re-examining the level of trust you have in a relationship. Maybe you're re-examining a trust or an inheritance or some kind of business operation that needs your attention. And I'm telling you, if you need to pay down debt, or you need to renegotiate a debt or a contract or something like that, this will be the time to do it, because this Mercury energy here, even retrograde, is good for research. It's good for getting to the bottom of things. So you'll have that in your favor. Now, what I would not do is make any new financial commitments that are not tied to like something that you're already working on, okay? When we get to the 20th, we're going to see that the sun lights up the sky, bringing in Aries season. So it's bringing light, heat, life, and vitality. So now you are motivated to work on this 8th house Aries of your chart, right? Like you're ready for this fresh start. You're ready to transform over here. Even if it's a little bit uncomfortable, I think you are willing and ready to get into it. Now, as we get to the 27th, that Venus retrograde is going to slide back from Aries into Pisces territory. So as we see that slide back into Pisces, Virgo, this lights up for you all of the relationships. But this is more about bringing an integrated version of yourself, trusting your intuition, right? Trusting a healing, giving those amends. Maybe you owe someone for an amends though for the way that you were treating, and this brings some salve to it, and then your spirit feels lifted, right? It's very much so about bringing better balance to your relationships, but it's got to be intuitively handled. On the 27th, we've got a new moon solar eclipse, and this one is happening in the vibration of Aries. It's the last one that's actually going to be happening in this Aries vibration, because we've already spent 18 months going through the Aries and Libra axes. So as this new moon solar eclipse is playing out, it is powerful, and this is where I'm telling you things can happen so fast, because you're more healed and have more clarity here than I think you might actually know, right? So as this is happening here in your 8th house, of course, it's offering us that new moon activity. Plant your seeds of intention, profound opportunity to have new or a beginning of different financial partnerships, different emotional healing, different intimacy. Maybe you're doing something deeper into astrology, but whatever it is, the eclipse here is bringing something unexpected in terms of its shift, and it's helping you reset this area. So you're really well supported if you are wanting to pay down that debt, if you're wanting a different financial life, if you're being forced to have a different financial life. This is actually something that you can work with. Begin a new healing journey around your 8th house. Therapy, shadow work, finances, joint resources, right? What is it? Because the story of your new beginning does lie in this eclipse. As we're going to close out the month, we've got Neptune now joining everybody and their sister over here in this Aries energy in your 8th house space. Neptune moving into Aries is a major transit for us. We're not going to have it for the entirety of 2025. We'll work a lot more with it in 2026. But here, this begins to be a heightening of your intuition, right? Because the energy of Neptune moving into Aries for you in this 8th house, it's about exploring, yes, what's mystical, what's, metaphysical, what are the mysteries of life and death and everything else in between. It's a very esoteric, spiritual kind of energy. And Neptune dissolves the boundaries of what was here before and offers you a different perspective or a different insight to look at where you're really interconnected to everything around you, and how it comes down to a very woo idea, but if you think it, you can have it, right? So I think you're going to see a lot more of that. And if this transit is coming through your life, especially in that 8th house, and you're feeling really called to study astrology, or you're like, I want to just have a different healing or therapy kind of process in my life, that would be spot on with what is coming in for this transit. Now, something I do want to just put your mind around is that Neptune can also bring that, a lot of that dissolving, that blurring, so it's confusing. And so we start to escape through addictions, fantasy, some kind of unhealthy attachment. So just being mindful of that, and also bringing in some grounding practices into your life and into your being in this 8th house. This is going to be something that I think helps you have more courage to explore what you're feeling drawn towards without breaking the budget, over idealizing a relationship, a course, a financial opportunity, and instead allows you to maintain a fair bit of that discernment and then go after it in the way that feels the most appropriate for you. All right, my beautiful Virgo friends, I love you a ton. Have a great month. I will see you next month. Beautiful Libra friends, and welcome to your horoscope for March of 2025, where Libra, this is the busiest month that we have all year. We've also got your ruling planet heading into retrograde, then taking that retrograde, sliding back into another sign. We've got eclipses this month as well, so it is a busy month. But one of the things that I want to bring your attention to right at the beginning, Libra, before we jump into your dates, is how impacted your 7th house is this month. So for some of our Libras who are maybe a little bit newer, when we're talking about the 7th house, we are talking about the house of partnerships, right? Conscious, chosen, one-on-one partnerships or significant relationships in our lives. So this can be marriage, it can be business alliances that you're in, contracts, long-term partnerships, how we relate to one another, our open enemies, people we know that we have issues with. So with so much energy focused here for March, there is this massive emphasis on all of your relationship dynamics. Now, you're already a relationship energy, right? But the balance here is going to be more Aries. We're looking, Libra, as where you're striking that balance in between your collaborative, beautiful Libran energy and your independence, right? And opportunities to heal and deepen the connections by finding that balance or seeing what is going on in your relationships. Now, because we do have eclipses this month, you're going to be put in a position to have to confront what's going on in how you're relating with other people. Now let's jump in and talk about this and look for the opportunities and see how you can use these energies all month long, okay? Right at the beginning on the 1st, we've got Venus, your ruling planet, turning retrograde in Aries, lighting up that 7th house space. Now, if you haven't watched the Venus retrograde series that we put together for you, 4 beautiful videos, turn them on, listen podcast style, see what it means for you. But what we're looking at essentially here is that Venus here is inviting some pretty deep reflection on how you engage in your relationships. And this is going to be both personal and professional. But more than anything, the transit is encouraging you to review the value. What do you value in your partnerships, right? How can you know how to rebalance a relationship if you're not actually sure what you value in it, right? How can you say this is what I know that I need, or this is how I'm going to approach relationships if you're not sure of the value? Now, there's also past relationships that may be presenting themselves to you, and it can be in a couple ways. One, you can actually have past relationships pop up or a pattern from a past relationship, and you're going to start seeing how it is still influencing any kind of current dynamic that you have, right? Those old partners and old relationships can also resurface, like literally come right to you or come to you in a dream or something like that. And it's not so much to put them back together. It's offering a chance for closure, and certainly to have this sense of renewed and reclaimed understanding of what was going on in that relationship. Now, it's still a Venus energy, so if there have been relationship challenges, this is a great transit for bringing more harmony into it, right? Looking at reciprocity in relationships. That's really important. Energy has to be cyclical. On a financial level, Libra, this transit is going to support as well renegotiating any kind of contract that you've been in, looking at any kind of business partnerships or alliances you've been in, and making sure that everything is still on track. Now on the 3rd, we're going to see that Mercury enters into Aries as well. You're going to hear me say Aries, Aries, Aries over and over and over again in this video. But Mercury enters into Aries, and now we bring our focus to communication, because Mercury is our planet of communication. But now how do we communicate in our partnerships, right? So this is going to offer a very Aries version of how Mercury is going to move. It's our words and our communication in fire, right? So it's going to offer this opportunity to have a really honest, hopefully dialogue, hopefully it's not a really honest monologue, because that's not going to serve you very well this particular month, but a really honest dialogue, or if there was something you needed to negotiate or you need to talk through something, this is a wonderful energy here. But Aries, that influence is going to be bold, and it's going to be pushing you and encouraging you to, yes, speak your truth, get it out there. You need to say it. You need to say the truth, but while also maintaining that respect for others, okay? So it's really an ideal time, I would tell you, for clarification in your relationships. Are there expectations that are not being met? The failure of most relationships honestly comes from unmet or unexplained expectations. So if there are misunderstandings or anything like that, this is a great time to initiate those conversations, initiate conversations in any kind of legal matter that you maybe got going on, or contracts. And when the Mercury retrograde comes on in just a few days, you'll be able to look at resolving those things. Now on the 14th, we've got the full moon lunar eclipse, and this one's happening in Virgo. Now the full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We need to pivot in a different direction here. This full moon in Virgo is a total eclipse. So Libra, this is big news. It is big news. The way that your life looks today as we are approaching this eclipse, it will not look this way in 6 months. It will not look this way in 18 months. This is a big old deal. You're getting a complete blotting out and resetting of what's happening in the Virgo area of your chart. So this brings a lot of attention to what's going on in your 12th house, as Virgo rules that 12th house space. So the things that are going on in there, behaviors or beliefs or ideas coming from the subconscious, things that need spiritual cleansing and things that need ending, things that need healing, places and times for you to get really serious about your spiritual practices, your spiritual reflection, because this eclipse is going to bring this all of the light, right? It brings a complete set of all of the light, so all of your attention, and that brings a really powerful revelation to you where you're like, I have to release this old pattern. And Virgo's energy is going to encourage you to practice healing, practice focusing on detoxing your mind, detoxing your body, detoxing your spirit. Now, the eclipse, because this one is a full moon as well, it can often just bring hidden things to the surface. So I want you to consider that this is really an opportunity to heal and let go of what's no longer serving you. But it will come through the lens of the 12th house and of spiritual practices. You know, how in your relationships, because you've got so much relationship work going on this month, do you have subconscious or unconscious patterns that you're starting to see show up and they're sabotaging your relationships? Where is a higher power, whatever you call that, involved in your relationships? This is a really ideal transit, and it's going to last for about 6 months in your energy to create some sacred space where you can connect with your own inner world and unpack the suitcase, let go of some of this baggage that is not for you anymore. On the 15th now, that Mercury that moved into Aries is going to go retrograde. So now you get to actually revisit the conversations of the past, revisit those relationships from the past, review your own communication patterns to include, how do you talk to yourself? What is the ongoing story that you're carrying and you're telling in your own mind? Like if you were to carry a tape recorder around all day and listen to yourself talk, what would be the pattern of what you would hear? Because that's a piece of the pattern that's playing out even in your mind, right? You're going to have more reflection on your partnerships, old partners, friends, business associates. All of these things can resurface, especially because we've got both Venus and Mercury retrograde at this time. But remember, it's a chance for renegotiation. We need to renegotiate the terms on how we partner together, or for healing. But it is a transit that is going to encourage you to just reconsider words, communications, ideals, and it's in a one-to-one kind of setting. It's not with your groups, right? If there are misunderstandings, this is a really powerful time for resolving that, clearing up any misunderstandings. Now, what I don't think is the strongest idea here in March is to really go out and powerfully initiate new partnerships. Instead, it's more about focusing on refining and healing the existing ones. When we get to the 20th, we are going to see that the sun moves into Aries, so a lot more Aries energy. But the sun here is bringing light, heat, life, and vitality. So now all of these things that are coming up around partnership, you are more motivated. You're motivated to take them on. You're motivated for the clarity. You're motivated with some relationship goals. So if you wanted to dig more deeply into that business relationship, or you're making decisions in your marriage, maybe you don't have a relationship or a partner on site, you're going to be reevaluating how do you approach relationships in your life, and what kind of relationships do you want? What value, what quality are you calling in for yourself? That's going to be a big piece of content. And when we get to March 27th, we have that Venus energy sliding back from Aries into the Pisces vibration, Libra. So this is where Venus is going to start encouraging your 6th house energy. And the 6th house is about your daily routine, your habits, your health, your wellness, your daily routine in terms of your health and wellness. Also, I like to include your mental health and wellness. And we talked about this a little bit ago. How are you talking to yourself? How are you caring for yourself mentally, right? But also something else that lives in the 6th house, and I never want us to forget, is that your workplace relationships live here, as well as if you are a freelance person or you own a company and you have employees, right? Those kind of workplace relationships matter as well as those freelance contracts. So this transit, as Venus is sliding back here, first of all, it is calling for a lot of reclamation and integration in Pisces of what you had been learning when Venus was in Aries. And now you're like, okay, I found my way. I found what I value. And now I need to integrate this. So as we watch the Venus retrograde here in Pisces, it's heavily supporting you revisiting how you show love, how you show appreciation in your work environment, in your healthy daily routines or routines that affect your well-being. So I want to call to you and say it is time to bring beauty and balance back into your life if it's been missing. And remembering it's not just being about service to other people, but service of routines and wellness that you consider to nurture your body, your soul. They're intuitive. They're in alignment with that Pisces vibration, okay? On the 29th, we've got the new moon solar eclipse. This one's happening in Aries, and this is the last one we're going to see in Aries, but it's in more Aries energy. So 7th house lit up. But this solar eclipse is about a fresh start in your relationships and your partnerships. So as we're experiencing this particular eclipse, the first thing I want to say is it is the new moon. So we're going to be planting our seeds of intention, right? You set your intentions for healthier, more fulfilling relationships, embrace any kind of opportunities for collaboration or partnership that come up. But when we're dealing with a new moon solar eclipse, it can be fast. Things can come up suddenly. It can bring like a sudden change, and it like accelerates the timeline, or it accelerates the growth in how you're doing these partnership things, how you're connecting with other people. So yes, plant your seeds of intention to balance out and to have that independence where you know your side, in addition to the collaboration with other people, because there's been a lot of healing here over the last 18 months as the nodes have traveled through Aries and Libra energy, right? You do know thine own self, to thine own self be true. But just pay attention to how fast your healing or your work or your changes start to show up in your life. Okay, it's really massive. Now, when we get to the 29th, we've got that Mercury retrograde sliding back into Pisces as well. And so this is again going to bring now the mind as well as that aesthetic and the value of Venus back to the 6th house. So again, great time to review those daily routines, review that workout routine, healthy habits, how you communicate about your daily life. And I want to point this out because this is a really good, just like real life example for you, Libra. If you're thinking, okay, I think I have a pretty good routine, but something just feels off, write it down. Write it down. Right? Because Mercury and Venus retrograde here are going to encourage you to slow down, refine how you're being responsible for your energy. And sometimes we just have to put it in black and white. Write down every little thing you put in your mouth. Write down everything that you're spending your time on so that you can see it in black and white on paper and see if the way that you're living or the way that you're handling something that maybe has felt stuck is actually nurturing to your well-being. So really beautiful energy. Now, as we're going to close out the month, massive transit for the year, although we're not going to have it for all of 2025. We'll do the bulk of it in 2026. It's still really important. We've got Neptune as one of our outer planets moving into Aries, again, lighting up that 7th house. Spiritual connection, intuitive, compassionate partnerships. That is what this transit is calling you for, a deeper connection, a more intuitive and spiritual connection to your partnerships. Now, in the 7th house, one of the conscious chosen one-on-one relationships I like to put in this house is also with whatever you call a higher power, right? What is your space that you connect to have that sense of spiritual alignment, right? Do you have a higher power or an understanding or a connection with whatever you call the divine that is personal to you, that is compassion, that is empathy, that is pleasure, that is play, that is beyond the surface understanding? It understands and helps you to see your way through your soul contracts that you share with other people. Neptune's influence here is really going to be blurring these boundaries as well. So I do want to say, while we're experiencing this, it's pretty important that you maintain as much clarity and grounding as you can, right? Neptune can really put us in a position where we're over idealizing people or partnerships or something like that. And so if you're using it in a way where you're keeping grounded practices, especially being grounded about your own needs and your own intuition, you stand a lot less chance of losing yourself or having that over idealized partnership view that can be going on. Okay. All right, my beautiful Libras, it's going to be a gorgeous month. Please let me know how it is planning and panning out for you as we are traveling here through March. Lots and lots of changes, and we'll really see the fullness of these changes present themselves as we get closer to the summer or to June, depending on where you are in the world. I love you, Libra. Have a great month. Beautiful Scorpio friends, and welcome to your horoscope for March of 2025, which Scorpio March is a busy month. We've got retrogrades, we've got eclipse energies, and we've got Neptune moving into Aries. So it's a very big month. It's very dynamic. I don't want to waste a ton of time. I want to get in here and talk to you about what's going on for your energy. But I also want to acknowledge right here off the bat that this is a heavy month of some really specific energy, Scorpio. Your 6th house is so lit up. It's so busy. It's so active as we invite this Aries energy in. Now, we've been dancing between the Pisces and Aries energy, which we will see our retrogrades continue to take us on that journey. But you're going to have a lot of emphasis around your health, wellness, daily routines, things about how well you take care of yourself, how well you're taking care of others. So this will also bring up some questions around your work environment and if you've been of service in your work environment. Now, when we experience a bit more of that Pisces energy and it slides back into the 5th house, we'll start to talk about your creativity, your joy, and your self-expression. So this is really a month where if I could give you a theme to be paying attention to, it would be, how are you being of service to yourself and others? And are you allowing yourself real rest, real joy, real pleasure in your daily routines? But let's jump in and see what these energies have to offer. Right here on the 1st, we've got Venus stepping into this retrograde right here in Aries, again, lighting up that 6th house space. Now, Scorpio, I hope that you have checked out the video playlist that I made with myself and 3 other astrologers, walking you all through different aspects and angles of how to work with this Venus retrograde. I'll make sure it's linked in the description down below and also at the end of this video, okay? But Venus here retrograding through your 6th house, this is an encouragement to reflect, reevaluate, and to reclaim what's happening in your work environment. Certainly in your health and your wellness routines. Now, Venus retrograding through Aries, Scorpio, I always come back to what's happening in the head. Have you had a traumatic brain injury? Has there been a lot just going on in your head, in your mind? Taking a look at that. And the other piece of it is, how do you bring joy to these everyday tasks, whether it's work, whether it is your fitness routine, whether it's your relationship with your coworkers. Now, again, I call to you this idea of looking at yourself this month as well, where you're looking at how you're being of service to other people. Are you aligning with the values of maybe an organization you're a part of? Are other people going to be evaluating how well you are aligning or leading their organization or something like that, right? Now, this is a Venus retrograde, so it's an interesting time where old colleagues, old work situations can really come back into focus. And what it's more so about is offering an opportunity to resolve something that happened in the past. But it's almost like you need to reconnect with that old coworker or that old friend from the gym or something like that in order to do this reflection. Now, on the 3rd, we see Mercury stepping into Aries, direct at this point. Still in pre-retrograde shadow time, but it is direct. Now, Mercury moving into Aries, into your 6th house, this is focus. You are bringing a really strong focus to how you communicate, contracts that you are signing, what's going on in that workplace, how you manage and strategize your daily schedule and your responsibilities. What is just honestly, what's the conversation going on in your mind about physically taking care of yourself, about your approach to health and to wellness? Because remember, Aries' influence here is really proactive. It is proactive, it is dynamic, it wants to help you initiate a different kind of conversation about your routines, about that work project, about that coworker, about your health practice, about your mental health and wellness. So this is a great time while Mercury is still direct to go ahead and put a couple things in place, make a plan, right? Streamline a process, introduce some new ideas, really look at, can I start making this more efficient for me to be able to handle my responsibilities? We'll review that as Mercury goes retrograde. On the 14th, we've got the full moon lunar eclipse happening in Virgo. And Scorpio, this is big ticket item information for the month because this is a total eclipse. So what you've been seeing in your 11th house of friends, social grouping, social media, your networks, your aspirations, goals, and dreams for yourself for the future. What it looks like today, 6 months from now, it's going to look completely different because this brings a complete blotting out, like a complete resetting to this area of your chart. So with this full moon lunar eclipse happening here, it's bringing the endings. It's saying something needs to be ended, acknowledged, or adjusted. It's a revelation. But the revelation is more about what needs to be released in terms of something old, an old connection that's maybe no longer, that your guys aren't on the same path anymore. You and this organization are not on the same path anymore. And it's a pivot to where you're going to get to go next because Virgo is really practical, but it's an earth energy. So you are doing something in the material plane. It's a job, it's a work, it's a social media post, it's a brand, it's an organization you're attached to. And because Virgo's so practical, it's going to encourage you to be really discerning. Be really discerning about what's going on in your social circle. And this is going to help you wherever the pivot takes you to really refine the vision that you have for the future. So I would offer an invite to you, Scorpio, to really use this eclipse, if it's in your 11th house, to reevaluate all of your involvement in different organizations, community groups, Is it aligned with the goals that you have for yourself, or is it just noise in the background? Maybe do you need to connect with friends who could support your growth, encourage your dreams, move you forward? Can you be a friend that's being encouraging? Just make sure it's in alignment, okay? Now, just a day later on the 15th, Mercury turns retrograde in Aries. So all of that daily routine, health, wellness, the schedule, all of that, now it goes into review. Okay, now it goes into review. So this is going to be a time over the next 3 weeks for you to really reassess your process at work. How do you handle your work? You know, if you are someone who runs a company or you have your own business, is your system in place? If you don't have systems, I know you're exhausted, right? So what are your systems? What's happening at work for you? Refine your schedule during this retrograde. And I really think if you need to revisit some kind of old health practice or old ailment that is like creeping itself up for some reason, if you tackle it kind of head on, you're going to be able to make a lot of peace and reestablish something that's more healthy in that particular lens. Now, it's still Mercury retrograde, so we need to be double checking communications so that we avoid misunderstandings. And I still, to this day, would not suggest that you sign a new contract, and that is, of course, depending on your chart. On the 20th, we are going to see that the sun moves into the vibration of Aries, bringing light, heat, life, and vitality. Now, this is another bump up to all of that Aries energy that you're already experiencing. And the sun here wants to shine in your 6th house. So it's encouraging you. It's bringing that vitality to take some leadership into your everyday life. How do you live? Do you live with joy? Aries is going to promote, again, that proactive energy. Take charge of your well-being. Find the joy in your daily routine. And sometimes we really mean that. You have to find it. You forgot what brings your body joy. You forgot what brings your mind joy. So if this is the energy, the sun is going to help you tackle that bang on, okay? Now, when we get to the 27th, we've got that Venus retrograde sliding back into the vibration of Pisces. So as we experience Venus popping back into that Piscean energy, this is where you actually have a beautiful opportunity to reevaluate your creativity and to reflect on how you bring that love and creativity into your life. How do you bring compassion into your daily routines, right? But it's not so much just in a way where it's like, yeah, just be fun and be creative. It's about trusting the intuition. It's about express yourself. Let your body speak. What does it need? Let playfulness, let romance, focus on living from the heart, sharing from the heart, even if it's just in your own living room, just with you. This is the most authentic position. Now, other things that happen in the 5th house are things having to do with children, or the concepts of children, right? Conception can be in this 5th house as well. So as Venus slides back here, your children could be presenting you some things. They're expressing something to you. They are being a bit more playful. Maybe you're going somewhere with them for spring break or something like that. So you'll definitely see the Venusian energy picking its little head out with that movement back into Pisces. Okay, on the 29th, we've got the new moon solar eclipse in Aries, and this is going to be the last solar eclipse in the Aries Libra axis that we've been experiencing for about 18 months. And again, this is in your 6th house. Now, Scorpio, while this is this beautiful fresh start in your work, in your health, it's a really powerful energy because it's an eclipse. It brings those new beginnings to these routines. A new moon solar eclipse can bring sudden changes, right? It highlights where you have to establish new habits or you have to initiate a new project because it's going to improve your life. And the thing about it is it can be fast. You can be planting your seeds of intention at 12:09 a.m. and by 5 a.m., something new is really in your life. It can happen so quickly. So what I want to say is, plant those seeds of intention, initiate those new projects, fitness, wellness, whatever brings wellness into your life, and then hold on tight. Because what comes is likely going to be really efficient. It's going to be firing. It's going to be ready to go. And you've also got all of this other packs of energy in Aries pushing you forward. So it's really an interesting and dynamic lunation. You know, it's one of the ones that it's not just an eclipse. I think this one's going to give you a good launching pad. Now, as we're closing out the month, really big transit, we've got Neptune moving into the vibration of Aries, also in your 6th house. And this helps to bring that more visionary, service, mystical, intuitive, compassionate approach to how you're going about your health, how you're going about your service. This is going to bring into all of this Aries energy you've been working with an encouragement to blend your spirituality, your intuition with your everyday responsibilities, finding acts of service. How are you of service to yourself? How are you being asked to be of service to others around you? Now, Neptune's influence can also create, first of all, a need to really maintain your boundaries, because Neptune's going to come and start dissolving all sorts of things, right? And it can lead to confusion. And then before you know, you're involved in too many things, or you're going too hard, or you're thinking too much, you know, you're doing too much, and then you end up actually burned out. So just be mindful that you want to have, you're doing all this new starting, but you need to also have some grounding practices to keep you tethered to the reality once we see Neptune move into Aries. Now, we're not going to have Neptune in Aries for all of 2025. We'll really work more with it in 2026, but this is where we get our start. All right, my beautiful Scorpio friends, I hope you have a great month. Let me know how it goes in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next month. Beautiful Sagittarian friends, and welcome to your horoscope for March of 2025. For Sagittarius, this is our busiest month of the year by far, and it is a month of retrogrades. It's a month of eclipses, but more importantly for you, beautiful Sagittarius, it is a month governed by your 5th house getting so much energy. So I love delivering this forecast for you because it is a month where your creativity, your joy, your self-expression, a sense of playfulness is called back up out of you. Now, I want to be really clear. When we're talking about creativity and expression here, it doesn't mean that it's going to be the most comfortable month either, right? If there are things going on in relationships and you have to speak up for what you want or what you need, this is going to be something that may challenge you, but it also gives you a really beautiful creative space to see where you've grown and respond in a different way, right? Speak from the heart, share from a mature place of the heart. It's really a beautiful energy. Now, the other side of it that I love is that it gives you a lot of space to share your uniqueness with the world. What are your gifts? Now, because it's the 5th house, this can also be things coming up for you this month, Sagittarius, around children, your children, conception of children. Maybe what you're conceiving or your children are conceiving is something new in their lives, and it's really about speaking to that. So whatever it is, there's a lot of self-expression that's going to be on the table. Now, as we shift into about the 2nd half of the month, we'll also see that the 4th house gets a little bit of energy. Now, we've got the transiting north node, say that 50 times fast. We've got the transiting north node also going through the Pisces energy, which lights up your 4th house space, home, family, real estate, property, security, your own emotional foundations. So there's an emphasis this month that you're going to need like comfort. You want comfort and security and stability. So you're doing some things, you're releasing some old ideas, you're releasing some old structures that don't work anymore in order to have that. Okay, let me say one more thing before I jump in here, because this has been on my heart since I started looking at the month for you guys. I think with the eclipses coming this month, because you're going to have this full moon lunar eclipse happening in your 10th house, it is a really good idea straight on here in the month to realize that changes in your career, your public reputation can be massive. They can be. And I don't think that they necessarily are good or bad, but they can be massive. So I do want to say, if you have decided you enjoy where you work, or you enjoy being someone's wife or husband, and the waters have felt a little bit rocky, I would just, say what you need to say, also keeping in mind the other person, and don't rock the boat too much if possible, because with all this retrograde and Aries energy, the ability to just say the wrong thing at the wrong time and have that be what kicks your career in a new direction, that is really very possible. Now, we leave it up to the fates, right? It is what it is. So just letting you know that before we get in here. All right, Sagittarius, on the 1st, we've got Venus turning retrograde in the vibration of Aries. And this is bringing this re-evaluation, this reclamation to your 5th house: creativity, joy, pleasure, play, romance, how you express love and joy. This transit is going to encourage you also to do a review of your romantic relationships, right? What's happening over there? How are you expressing love? Are you ready to put yourself out there? What do you value in a romantic relationship? Whether you're in one or not, this is a great time to be in that reflection and be in that reclamation as well. If you value a particular thing, are you that particular thing so that you can call it into you? Now, there are creative projects that maybe are coming back up, a way to showcase yourself. You know, how do you allow yourself to experience fun and play and let others experience that from you as well? It is Venus retrograde, so it is really possible that you might reconnect with someone who, you know, is an old lover, an old love interest. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they walk up to your front door and knock on it. It's 2025. They could show up in your DMs. Maybe they show up in a dream. Maybe you're going to an event and you find out that, you know, somebody you were really interested in happens to be the new step parent of a person that goes to your child's school, right? Like, okay, the arrangements are endless. Cosmic results may vary. However, when they're coming back, it's an opportunity to reconnect with that old energy and see what patterns do you notice. Revisit an old hobby so that you can rediscover what really brings you happiness. Did you loved that at a time? Do you still love it now? You know, so this transit in general is going to really be highlighting, I think, where you're holding yourself back and expressing yourself, expressing your true self, expressing that joy, that pleasure and play, and letting it be in your life. Spend time with children, spend time with your inner child, and engage in some play, because your spark of joy is right there. You've just got to be willing to let it out of the bag. All right, when we get to the 3rd, we've got Mercury moving into Aries. Now, again, lighting up some more of this 5th house energy. And Mercury moving here, being our creative communication planet in this sense, is more self-expression. But you're communicating through being pretty focused and pretty direct, because that Aries influence is going to bring a lot of boldness. It's going to bring some initiative. You're already a fire energy, just like Aries energy. So you might be even more inspired to share your thoughts really openly. And I want you to embrace that. Embrace new ways to express yourself. Embrace the new places that you are demonstrating to the world, right? You've grown, you've evolved, Sagittarius. So this is an ideal time to take this version of you and this version of you's lessons and evolution to write, to speak, to teach, and do it from a place of passion. This energy absolutely supports that. Anything needing to do with children, playful activities, all of those are also on the table for communication as well. Now, as we get just, a little bit down the road, we're going to see that Mercury goes retrograde. So you'll have a chance to review whatever you start bringing in at this particular time. On the 14th, we've got that full moon lunar eclipse happening in Virgo, lighting up your 10th house space. Now, the 10th house is about your career, your public reputation, your ambition or achievements that you've been working on. But in this place where it's your reputation, I want you to think a little bit more broad about it. It's not just how people know you, but it is, what is the name that people call you in public? Do we call you CEO? Do we call you mom? What do people call you in public? It could be a title that is assigned to you, right? Now, as we're at this full moon lunar eclipse, it's asking you to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment, because you need to pivot. And Sagittarius, this is a total eclipse. Full on. This is going to bring a complete reset. And so what you're looking at in your life around your career or your title, it's not going to look that way in 6 months. Everything is going to look different. And it's about the pivot, because this eclipse is bringing that culmination, but it's bringing the revelation of why you need to pivot, or bringing the circumstances that make you pivot, but they're necessary endings in this area. The South Node is also traveling through Virgo, so something has overplayed its purpose now, and it is time to move along. Now, Virgo's energy here is really going to emphasize being organized, being practical, really, really reclaiming and refining your public image or your reputation in relation to your career path. This is the other reason I say it is not the day to have all of this beautiful creative self-expression and go tell your boss what you think about their job or about, right? It's not the time. It's the time to do it in a way that would guarantee that you have a bit more strength and support on your career path. So for some of you, whether you choose it or it is chosen for you, this eclipse may really prompt a big change in your professional life. And again, whether you choose it or it is chosen for you, the releasing of an outdated career or an outdated career goal can present itself over this next 6 months, and it's going to cause you to come face to face with making an adjustment. You have to be doing work and have a career and a title that is much more aligned with your intuitive purpose now. Some of you, you're going to be starting your own businesses. You're going to get organized and start your own businesses. I can't wait to see what it is that you do. Now, on the 15th, we've got Mercury turning retrograde in that Aries energy. So all of those things that started to come in on the 3rd, you're reflecting on those creative projects. You're reflecting now on those romantic relationships. And yes, absolutely. Maybe you put an application in even 3 months ago, and now you're finally hearing back over this next 3 weeks. You had a creative project idea before, and now it is coming back to you. Maybe there was a past opportunity and you thought, wow, the door is really closed on that, whether it be romantic or not, and it comes back. Or you have a different understanding, Mercury, of why it didn't work. Right? So really the combination of having both Venus and Mercury retrograde over here is a real opportunity to revisit all kinds of things that are unfinished, especially a creative project, a past romantic relationship, and you're just looking for what new insights you can bring to them. Where can you find the healing and the understanding? And if there really is a misunderstanding, you can clean that up. When we get to the 20th, now the sun enters in and we bring in Aries season. So it's a full beginning of everything, right? And Aries gets things started, but really where do we really get things going is in Taurus season, right? Aries is launching it out there and then gets bored and walks off, and we need a fixed energy to hold it. So you're starting here. You're motivated. The sun brings light, heat, life, motivation to this 5th house space. So the energy is going to encourage you to step into the spotlight, give your gifts to the world, bring that creativity, that joy, pleasure, play, be seen for who you are, what you are, how you are. And I think that the sun here bringing such a vital energy is going to bring you a lot of enthusiasm and energy to be willing and able to do it. Now, on the 27th, we see Venus still retrograde, but sliding back into Pisces, so back into your 4th house space. So this is going to be a time to really reflect on your home environment, home, family, real estate, property, where you're living, what are your emotional foundations. And Venus coming back here is about what do you value? It is about what do you value? What do you want to reclaim or bring back into your life? But it's also about looking at what you value and creating harmony within your home, reconnecting with your family, healing some past wounds that have maybe presented themselves and come up. You know, things in your upbringing. And it doesn't matter if you're 80 years old. If something is coming up for you about your upbringing or your current living situation, this is a time that you can bring a little bit more harmony to it. On the 29th, we've got the new moon solar eclipse happening in Aries, and this is going to be the last one in the Aries and Libra axes. But this one is, I think, really important to pay attention to, because not only is it a new moon happening in that 5th house, so now you've got this powerful new energy to bring those beginnings to romance and self-expression. However, with a new moon solar eclipse, what can happen is an eclipse can bring a really sudden or unexpected opportunity. And it's fast. It can be really fast where it feels like the timeline of your life just got shifted in a completely different direction. And it really, is helping you align with what's really going to bring you joy, even if you don't fully understand the extent of it. But it's going to provide you with a pretty big opportunity to take courage and take a really big leap forward. And if you're living from your heart with a little bit of strategy behind it, I think you're going to be very happy with the results. But man, it can be fast. So let me know as we're traveling through March, April, and May, where you're seeing the speed of this show up in your life. Now on the 30th, big transit, ending out the month with Neptune moving into Aries. So we've got a lot obviously going on in that Aries energy. But Neptune's transit here is going to bring you more in alignment with the spiritual, mystical, creative, and intuitive energy. You're creating an ideal here. So this transit is about, it's an encouragement to blend an idea or a vision, an imagination with reality. Right? So, and I always share when we're dealing with Neptunian energy, before a chair was a chair, it was just an idea. So what are you thinking about? What are you dreaming about? What are you exploring in that creative, beautiful mind of yours? What are you getting inspiration from? What are you inspired by? And then how are you going to approach putting that out into the world? It's an incredibly artistic energy. So I hope that if you used to do pottery, or you used to do water painting, or you used to do dancing, I hope that you bring it back, you welcome it back. This is the month to welcome it back into your life. And it doesn't mean you have to go for the cheerleading competition of the world. You know what I mean? If you just used to do, a little archery, or you used to do a little whatever you used to do, call it back. Seems like a dreamy approach to life, but it's actually going to be the best thing for you. Now, the one thing we do have to be mindful of is that Neptune can bring too much delusion. It's dissolving boundaries so that you can work out a new vision and bring it to reality, but it can really, really put you in a position where you're not grounded. So along with bringing a lot of the creative to your world this month, make sure you've got some good grounding practices so that you can make sure that you've also got your feet on the ground. You're not over idealizing some idea or dream just to chase it and be disappointed down the way. All right, my beautiful Sagittarian friends, have a gorgeous month. I love you a ton, and I'll see you next month. Beautiful Capricorn friends, and welcome to your horoscope for March of 2025. And Capricorn, it's so busy. This is our busiest month of the year. There's a lot that's beginning this month because we're hitting this Aries energy so much. And I want to say that the beginnings are really powerful. It really is that energy under the rocket that gets it up into the sky, out of the universe. But then what does the rocket see? That happens during Taurus season. But this month is significant because you're building a lot of fuel under that thing, okay? So we're talking retrogrades and we're talking eclipses this month. So I don't want to hold you too long, but let's get in here and talk about what's going on. Now, most specifically, the thing to keep in mind here, Capricorn, is how heavy your fourth house energy is this month. Now, for some of our newer Capricorn energies, the fourth house governs home, family, real estate, property, our emotional foundations, our security, ancestry, your private life. These are all of the things that are home to you. It's where we find our deepest sense of belonging and comfort. So, with such a massive amount of energy happening here, the thing I love about astrology is it's telling you, Capricorn, bring your attention right here. Yes, there's a lot going on in the world. Come home, literally come home, okay? So let's jump in and talk about it. Right here on the 1st, we've got Venus turning retrograde in Aries. And I truly hope that you have checked out the Venus retrograde playlist that I put together for you. 4 different talks with myself and 3 other beautiful astrologers walking you through different facets of this Venus retrograde because it is a very active one. March is not a passive month at all, and this retrograde is asking for these reevaluations for you, Capricorn, in your 4th house. So this is looking at an opportunity to revisit family relationships, your own emotional security. How do you find comfort in your own private world? This is a massive question. So if you're feeling over this next month, you're feeling drawn to reconnect with family members, past traditions, going into your own childhood, your childhood home. Maybe you're addressing or reviewing an unresolved emotional tangle that happened in the family somewhere. That is a time to do that. Now, Venus is still Venus. So Venus is also about an aesthetic. This is going to be a retrograde where it's time for you to reconsider, what does your home look like? What does your home aesthetics look like? What really and truly makes your space feel warm and loving and like it's nurturing to you, not just something on the surface. Now, retrogrades have a tendency to bring back old people, old ideas, old moments. So if there is an old family or an old housing issue that resurfaces, the urging here is about healing and reconnection. It's not necessarily about needing to move back home, unless that's what happens in your particular chart, or going back and staying in that scenario. It's just about looking at it again and getting that healing, okay? So for some of you, I'm telling you truly, if you do decide, Capricorn, if you're like, no, I have to reevaluate my living situation, remember that whatever you're reevaluating, you're doing it like an Aries. Do I value this? Am I willing to be a leader and move myself into a place, into a home that makes me feel good? Or am I taking the lead to finally finish that renovation, whatever the story happens to be? But Venus has got you looking at it. On the 3rd, we see Mercury moving into the vibration of Aries now, another Aries energy. With Mercury here in Aries, it is going to bring a highlight to all of our communication, how we think, how we share information, how we process the information. But of course, for you, it's communication within the home. Discussion about that lease, about buying that property, about selling that property, about the family, about making decisions related to what your personal security is. And for some of you, I like this energy because Mercury's incredibly business savvy as well. So you may be going, whether it's by force or by choice, you may be starting your own at-home business, or you're picking up an extra job or something like that online, right? You're working from home. Whatever it is, the thing I would love for you to lean into is that Aries influence here is encouraging you to speak direct. Have the courage to have the conversations and to make the decisions that need to be made, because if not, progress cannot be made. Your rocket cannot get off the ground. And because this is a time for discussing family stuff, you're doing it with a lot more honesty and a lot more clarity. Perhaps for some of you, because it is still the 4th house, you're making plans for your future living situation or something like that. You'll have a review of that as Mercury goes retrograde. Now on March 14th, we've got a full moon lunar eclipse. This is happening in Virgo, lighting up your 9th house space. Now Capricorn, it's not so much that it's an eclipse. Eclipse is always intense, right? But it's because this is a total eclipse. So what your life looks like today, as you're hearing me, as you're listening to me, in 6 months, it's going to look completely different. This area is getting a complete blotting out and resetting. But here's the thing. In the 9th house, what we're dealing with are higher education, right? We're dealing with learning, traveling, your belief system. How do you believe in yourself? What do you believe for yourself? What philosophies or what outdated or limiting beliefs and perspectives are currently in your way? What's going on with immigration or legal things in your life? And as the eclipse is happening here, it is signaling that we need to full moon, end something, acknowledge something, or make an adjustment. So maybe a culmination of something in education. Massive amounts of you're being forced really to look at your spiritual growth and look at if you have a spiritual program or a spiritual belief system in your life, a set of philosophies that allow you to ground and extend beyond yourself. It's a really important realization that in every way is going to shift your worldview, okay? Because I'm telling you, there are really some outdated beliefs or perspectives that are coming up for you. And they, I think, give you space, Capricorn, in this area to reevaluate how you do things. How do you get education today? What is your international travel plan and or life looking like? Are you leaving your home country? Are you going someplace else? Are you traveling for work? All of these things come under this eclipse. And in 6 months, this area of your life will look completely different. On the 15th, Mercury, who's in Aries, is now going to take that retrograde. So now those reflections of all of that beautiful conversation you had around home, family, your emotional security. Now, really, truly, Venus and Mercury are retrograde. So old conversations with family members, of family members, about family members can be resurfacing. And this offers a chance for reevaluation. And ultimately, the goal is for the healing. But I want you to also remember it's still Mercury retrograde and none of us are exempt from it. So expect some miscommunications when it comes to your home zone. Double check plans, especially if you're making changes to your living situation. Give space to need to hear something twice or need to say something twice, because everyone is facing backwards essentially with this Mercury retrograde. Now on the 20th, to add to this fourth house area, the sun moves into Aries. It's Aries season. It's the equinox. We are all at a fresh start, and for you, it's in your home. There's a lot going over there. Some things are moving backwards for reevaluation. Other things are illuminating forward. So you're getting a really full view. And as the sun comes here, it brings light, heat, life, and vitality. So for you at this point, you may honestly find yourself, Capricorn, not only spend a lot of time in that house, in your personal sanctuary, creating that space that nurtures you, but wanting to prioritize spending time with family or people that feel like home to you. Right? Organize, improve your living environment so that it is bursting with your own well-being. Okay. So take a look at that. Let me know what that looks like for you in the comment section down below. On the 27th, we've got Venus going retrograde in Pisces. It's already been retrograde. Now it's just going to slide back to the Pisces dynamic and light up your third house space. So the third house is about how we communicate. We've got more communication in the story. But it's also, how do I interact with my siblings, my neighbors, my local community? For some of you too, you could be writing a book, putting up a website, or you're learning something. This Venus retrograde here is going to pull you back and give you an opportunity to reconnect with something that was already on the table, an old friend or something with your siblings. And now you're having a healing conversation that can take place. You're rewriting or rewording a creative project instead of starting a new one, right? You would just be refining it. You're not starting a new one. Realizing that words mean things. Words mean things. So expressing kindness to yourself and to others, expressing beauty, expressing gratitude around you in your communication. These are going to be massive themes of this third house area. Now, it's also Pisces energy, so some things could have the lines blurred a bit. So as long as you're keeping your feet planted a little bit on the ground and holding strong to your boundaries about, I value this, therefore you're hitting a boundary for me, so I'm going to say no thank you, then I think that doing the rest of this Venus retrograde can be navigated brilliantly. Now, when we get to the 29th, we have got our next eclipse, and this is the one for the month that I think you're going to see the most action in lifting your rocket off the ground. This is the new moon solar eclipse happening at 9 degrees of Aries. If you remember, Mercury went retrograde this month at 9 degrees of Aries, so there is a lot of talking going down. Now, this new moon solar eclipse, also in this fourth house, it brings significant new beginnings, significant, wildly new developments in your home zone. But the thing about a solar eclipse, Capricorn, is that when they happen, it can be fast. It can bring an urgent or a sudden change, and it happens fast. So it's like the timeline of your life is on a completely different track really quickly, right? But it's typically in a really good way. It's powerful for moving. It's powerful for redecorating. It's powerful for changing the dynamic of your family in a way that frees up energy. So what I would encourage you to do is to, first of all, redefine at this particular lunation. It's the last one in Aries. You've spent the last 18 months being really changed in this Aries energy. So you're different. As you're planting your seeds of intention now, what does home, in quotes, truly mean to you today? What does that mean to you? And then plant your seeds of intention based off of what home really means to you today. Initiate those home-related projects. Initiate that family healing or participate in it. One of the things I would encourage you to not do during the eclipse time, so this particular day, is to force things. Things may speed up and be happening quite quickly. Your job is to still go with that Aries flow. But when you start having to push against something to make it happen, especially in your home zone. This can get really challenging. Let the beginnings unfold quite naturally, okay? As we're going to close out the month, we've got a really significant transit. Neptune's entering into Aries. So again, some more in the Aries energy. But as Neptune moves here in Aries, this is a spiritual awakening. This is this place where we're going to start to really more deeply blend your spirituality, your vision, and your intuition with personal and I think ancestral healing as well. So dreams about your home life, dreams about your ancestors, they can become more vivid now, right? And you're being called to create in your life more deeply, more intuitively, in alignment with your intuition. And you are looking for peace. You are looking for peace. You're looking for a peaceful living space. You're looking to create a space that every corner of your home feels like what you call home to you. Now, we're not going to have Neptune with us for the entirety of 2025. We're going to see it pop back into that Pisces energy. But 2026, this is giving you a taste for where your spiritual awakening and where your emotional identity in your home is really living. Neptune is going to dissolve boundaries here and give you the courage to be that spiritual warrior in your own life. But Neptune can also create a fair amount of confusion. So please avoid over idealizing something like you're going too far. It's almost an obsession. And try to, when you are making your plans, again, make sure there is some grounding technique in your practice. So you make sure you've got your beautiful head and heart in the clouds and your feet on the ground. That's the best way to keep some balance. All right, my beautiful Capricorn friends, I love you a ton. Have a gorgeous month. No matter what's going on in the world, have a gorgeous month in your world. And let me know how it's going in the comment section down below. Absolutely beautiful Aquarian friends, and welcome to your horoscope for March of 2025, where Aquarius, it's a busy month. It is just the most busy month that we're going to have all year long. So I don't want to hold us too long and get in here and talk about these dates. But one thing to keep in mind is that as you're listening, how busy your third house is this month with all of this Aries energy. And the third house, Aquarius, is about our communication, how we speak, how we think, how we exchange ideas, the way that when ideas are given to us, we process them and see the patternings of them. Our networks, things having to do with our siblings, writing, teaching, all of these things are in here as well. Now, one of the things that we don't often talk about in the third house is that the third house is also over transportation and any kind of things that need, like the small parts. Think about the small parts under the hood of your car, right? The way the engine block is put together, or in your watch, the way that the pieces are built together. That's a very third house kind of energy. So why do we care about that? Because as this area of your chart is so loaded this month, looking at how things are communicated or how things are processing is really going to be top of the line kind of information. Now, second half of the month, we'll see a little bit more activation back into the Pisces area of your chart, which we've already got Saturn, Neptune, North Node over there. Okay, but we're going to start to see that in the second half, we're going to come back to questions, comments, answers, and experiences about financial stability, income, how you make money. So let's jump in right at the beginning of the month. On the 1st, we've got Venus turning retrograde in Aries, lighting up that third house space. Now, I do hope, Aquarius, that you have listened to or will take time to listen to the Venus retrograde playlist that I've put together for you with myself and 3 other beautiful astrologers, giving you different perspectives on how to work with and walk through this Venus retrograde time, because it really will impact you all year long, far beyond the March timeframe. But here we see Venus step into its retrograde in Aries, and this is all about an encouragement to review deeply, quite deeply, the value of how you express yourself, especially in relationships. How are you interacting with your siblings? What's the value in general of communication in your life? So this is very real that you may find yourself reconnecting with old friends, revisiting old writing projects, or just reflecting on even how you speak and share your truth, right? Because communication has to go two ways. It has to be given and received. So if you're seeing some patterns come up that, you have to reclaim your voice in some way, or you have to make space for the other person in your relationship dynamic to have their own space of their own voice, you'll really be looking at this. I do want to just offer one bit of caution. This transit, because it's Venus retrograde, how you handle your relationships, especially via text, via email, via social media, this is a space for a pretty vast amount of misunderstandings to arise. So something that you can be mindful of is, yes, absolutely, revisit these old things. If old people, places, and things in past conversations come up, how have your words impacted those relationships? And you can look at that. But I would avoid making gossip or impulsive statements. Like, really think before you speak. Mercury is also going to go retrograde here, so it will double up on that energy for sure. On the 3rd, now we see Mercury entering into Aries. So boom, we've got another Aries energy. And when Mercury is in Aries, the mental activity, the conversation, the quick decision making, the direct, forceful communication is really amplified. Now, this is great because Aries energy, it makes your speech a little bit more bold, a little bit more courageous. You're getting a little bit more to the point, but sometimes it can be too impulsive. We don't want to stab people with our words, right? So this is a great transit for, first of all, learning new things, having important conversations. Maybe you want to initiate something new around communication, something like that, right? So, if it's a brainstorming session that you want to get into, this is a great transit for that creative thinking. Now, what's going to happen when Mercury goes retrograde is you'll have a chance to review all of this. And one of the things that I think you will heavily be reviewing is looking at where previously your values were different and it put you in a position to rush a decision instead of pausing to reflect before you committed to it, or where maybe you have spoken too harshly and it cut a little bit too deep, and that's been impacting relationships. So it's always about the evolution, right? We see our patterns and then we see where we can grow, but we also see where we have grown in your communication as well. On the 14th, we've got a full moon lunar eclipse, and this one is happening in the vibration of Virgo, and this is a big one, I think. First of all, it lights up your 8th house space. So the 8th house ruling intimacy and assets, that's the way I like to describe it, because we're going to talk about your shared resources, debt. We're going to talk about deep psychological healing. It's very vulnerable. We're going to talk about that intimacy and sex, your sexual organs, and how these things are functioning. And it's also about, we go through these experiences in a joint, partnered, shared kind of way so that we can transform. Now, the full moon lunar eclipse here in Virgo, the full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment, because we need to pivot. We need to get going and figure out the next direction, right? So this eclipse is the signification of an ending or a realization, and to you, it's likely around your financial commitments, emotional intimacy, any trust issues that you've been having. I like that this eclipse is a total eclipse. So what that really signals to me is that what this area of your life looks like today, in 6 months, it will absolutely look nothing like that, because you're getting a full blotting out, right? A full eclipsing. It's a reset. So this could mark a time for you where you're resolving a debt, or, let's say that you were owed some money. You could start to see some of that money come back to you. Really big spaces of emotional healing that you feel the evolution shift to the surface. Shifting in any kind of financial arrangements. Listen, if you've got anything going on with student loans or some kind of other debt, there will be an abundance of conversation about that. One of the things I just want to share too is, because this eclipse, you're going to work on it for the next, where are we at now? So we've got about 15, 16 months left in the Virgo Pisces axes. If you find that what's being revealed to you is that you are holding on to a resentment over a pretty large financial commitment that you did make or you want to make, this is going to be the practice of forgive and release. On the 15th, now that Mercury that moved into Aries is going to turn retrograde here in this 3rd house. So old conversations could come back, old ideas could come back, even old people from the past can come back for sure. And they're coming back more as a reconnection, maybe with a sibling or a neighbor, so that past conflicts or past words can be resolved. But again, it's still Mercury retrograde, Venus also retrograde in the same space. So miscommunications are really likely. And so it makes it really almost doubly important to double check those messages, double check those travel plans, double check your contracts or that paper before you launch it out there. Now, it's a fantastic time for editing. What do you need to edit? What documents do you need to go back over or you need to acquire? It's not the best time for signing a new contract. Wait until Mercury goes direct for that. On the 20th, we see the sun enter into Aries, so welcome into Aries season. This third house is already loaded and busy, but as the sun comes into this third house, it brings light, heat, life, and vitality. So it's highlighting the learning, the networking, the speaking up. Maybe you're going to be speaking in public, or you're launching a new idea out there. You're starting a class, but it's coming from a past idea that was already on your table before. I don't want you to think that because we've got all of these retrogrades and eclipses going on, that it's an active month. It's a great month for you to be stepping into some kind of leadership role around communication, right? And maybe you're just stepping into the leadership role in your relationship. You're learning how to manage and master your communication. Or maybe you're really seeing that a past idea that you had is going to be great for you to step into that role and share that idea with others. It's very active this month. On the 27th, Venus is now going to slide from that Aries energy back into Pisces. So this is where things start to become a bit more active in the financial review. Now, Venus retrograding in the second house in that Pisces, you're reevaluating, first of all, your financial values. What do you value financially? And if you really want to know what you value financially, go through your bank statements. What are you spending money on every month? If you want to know what you value, look at what you're charging for your services or what you're earning, and then what you're doing with that money after you earn it. Reevaluating some of the self-worth, right? Money management, your personal values. So as Venus is also traveling here and you're doing this reassessment of genuine, like really literally, how do you earn money? How do you earn money? And what truly brings you comfort and security when it comes to giving that money up? Some of you may be going, I'm ready to earn money in a different way. Some of you may be forced to earn money in a different way. Some of you may be put in a position now where you're like, I got to really get serious about this budgeting, right? So there's a lot going on in this financial sector. But the thing I want to hand you is to remember that you've done a lot of healing here. Pisces energy is also about integration. So integrate. What have you learned? And if you are in a position where you're like, I'm still doing the same old things, where can you bring in some kind of mentorship to help you move this area around and get you out of the pattern that you've already been in, right? Many of you are going to discover that you rediscover retrograde, that you have an old talent, and that old talent is useful. You can generate an income from it, right? Okay, on the 29th, we've got a new moon solar eclipse. This one's in Aries as well. Lots and lots of Aries energy. So this is the chance with a new moon solar eclipse to plant your seeds for a new beginning. But for you, it's around communication. It's around learning. It's around writing. It's in the communication space. Now, the thing with the solar eclipse is that while it's this signal for this powerful fresh start, right? I love that. It can happen fast. Solar eclipses can bring urgent or sudden changes, and then it's like the timeline of your life gets sped up really, really quickly. So let's say you're like, yeah, I'm going to just start sharing about what I'm experiencing now or what I experienced when I was going through fill in the blank, and you start a blog. Right? You're just like, I'm just going to share my ideas. I'm going to put it out there. And then it gets picked up really quickly. Or you think, oh, I'm going to go back and take this course that I had already purchased. And you start getting through that thing at lightning speed and getting the new skill under your belt. It can happen really fast. So that is great. And I love that. Now, the only thing I'm going to tell you to pay attention to is not to rush into any new commitments too hard. Let the eclipse energy unfold it naturally. Take your baby step and then let it unfold, and baby step and let it unfold, okay? As we get to the 30th and we're going to close out this month, major transit, we've got Neptune moving into Aries as well. And this is the energy of a spiritual awakening around how you communicate. Because Neptune in the third house it's going to enhance your intuition, enhances the creativity. It makes communication a bit more dreamy, certainly a bit more compassionate and forgiving is the goal of the evolution. So it's a really powerful transit for doing all sorts of things: storytelling, poetry, taking a journey with non-linear thinking, right? You're trusting your intuition a little bit more and speaking the language of the heart, which most of the time when we're speaking the language of the heart, it's coming from painful or joyful experiences that we've had deeply that we can explain to another person as a human being. So this is going to be a transit where we're not going to have it for all of 2025. We're really going to do much more work with it in 2026. But where are you awakening spiritually and intuitively, even to how your words are connecting, not with just yourself, but how the story that your brain has got going is spinning a story down into the rest of your body as well. All right, beautiful Aquarians, please let me know how your month is going and unfolding. I'm wishing you so beautifully well. I love you a ton, and I will see you next month. My beautiful Pisces, and welcome to your horoscope for March of 2025, and happy birthday to my Pisces that are on this side of the Pisces cusp line. Happy birthday. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're feeling well. I hope you are ready to plant your seeds of intention for what you would like to experience in this next year, regardless of what the world has got going on around you. What are you developing, especially in that beautifully creative, watery energy that you live within? So happy birthday. Now, this is the busiest month that we are going to have for the year, but you've also just got a busy year on your hands in general, Pisces, because the North Node is traveling through your sign, and we've got that South Node in Virgo. So you're doing a lot of relationship work, but it's of the spiritual variety. The destiny that is playing out for you in this next 16 months is, I hope that you take an opportunity to embrace it as absolutely being on the path of where your sunlight can really beam forward quite beautifully in a way that is meant to be. Now, this month in particular, we're going to be doing a lot of energy into your second house. And for some of our Pisces friends who are maybe newer, the second house governs money, your income, but also, your financial stability from that and your personal values around finances. It's going to reflect how you build those finances, how you make that income to build security. And it all really comes down to, it's based on what you consider to be valuable in life. So this is going to be a big month where Aries season every year brings you back to your finances, but we've got some retrogrades, a stacked house full of Aries energy, some eclipses, the last eclipse that'll happen here. And really, I'll just tell you this because it's Aries energy. So much of this month is about you asking for what you need. It's more of an assertiveness, not an aggressiveness, but an assertiveness around your finances and what you value. So let's jump in here and talk about it, because we are going to see some things slide back into that Pisces energy as well, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. Right here on the first, we've got Venus turning retrograde in the vibration of Aries, so kicking up this second house energy. Now, I hope, Pisces, you have taken an opportunity, or you will, to watch the Venus retrograde playlist that I've put together for you with myself and 3 other beautiful astrologers, talking about how to really, truly work with this Venus retrograde, because it is great if it is just an intellectual thing, but we're trying to help you bring it into your body and into your real life experience. But in general, Venus is retrograde through the second house. It's this urge, right? It's asking you to reassess your finances, your financial habits, your personal values around money, because that is going to depend and make up a lot of how you earn, how you spend, how you save money. Your self-worth is a massive thing that you are reclaiming here with Venus retrograde in this sign. So one of the things to know is that because this is Venus, and Venus is also so much attached to relationships and finances as well, this transit can bring delays, and I mean like real delays in payments, shifts to different financial plans, or maybe there's an old money matter, an old money situation that is resurfacing. So it's coming up for you to bring it to closure or bring it to a healing, okay? But it is also going to be challenging you to look at your self-worth and whether or not you are under or overvaluing yourself in some kind of financial or business relationship. So I would really encourage you to evaluate your self-worth here, reclaim it. Ask for what you want. Ask for what you need. Are you charging what you're worth for your skills? Look at things too that are also non-material wealth, right? What do you value and where do you find value beyond money? This is a great energy for this. What I would avoid is making any really large purchases. Just wait until Venus is direct for a little bit better clarity with that particular energy. Now on the 3rd, we have Mercury moving into Aries, more in the second house energy. But Mercury here speeds up the money discussion, okay? Where like you're having conversations about your worth, about your value, and you're really talking it out because Aries energy is going to bring a more bold vibration, but it can also be a little bit more impulsive. So when it comes to financial decision making, that's great. Aries is going to give you a little bit of courage to ask for what you need, to make an investment in yourself that will better you, but we have to be sure that you're not also tipping into being super impulsive and putting yourself in a position, you rush into a financial decision. Instead, let's just wait until Mercury is direct, Venus is direct, slow down, read the fine print of anything that you're going to get into from those contracts, a budget, a business decision, but feel quite comfortable with negotiating a salary increase or looking at new pricing for your services. Communicate your financial needs and do it like an Aries with quite a bit of confidence. On the 14th, we've got a full moon lunar eclipse happening in Virgo, which is your opposite energy, so a polarity. And there is a lot going to be happening in this area for you, and they're destiny points because the nodes are working on this. In some way, we're being shown at this full moon lunar eclipse that in some way your 7th house of conscious chosen one-on-one relationships, partnerships, there's major revelations because it's overused. Some of these things are not needed in this way anymore. This is going to be both personal and both business related as well. Now, this lunar eclipse is a total. So I think this is big news, Pisces, because the way that your relationships look in your life today, they are absolutely not going to look that way in 6 months. This is a total blotting out, a total resetting of this area, and it comes from an emotional place for you. So as a signature, it gives us an indication that there's an end of a financial or maybe even a legal partnership that's coming to an end. It's the 7th house, so there could certainly be a shift in some kind of romantic dynamic that you are engaged with, right? Maybe you're making a decision regarding some kind of commitment. This could be the month where you and that person become solid, or you solidly decide to get away from each other, whether that is business or personal. So during this particular transit, as we experience this eclipse, just know that what is no longer serving? That's the question of Virgo. Is this of service? Is this efficient, effective, and of service? That this is a turning point in your relationships. And when I see you in 6 months, it is just not going to look the same. On the 15th, we see Mercury now turning retrograde in that Aries vibration. So all of these things around your finances, Mercury is now going to slow down. So we're bringing financial transactions to even more of a slow. Payments. You wanted to have those money-related conversations, delayed checks, lost transactions, unexpected expenses, right? All of these things, we need to make space for them as Mercury is retrograde, since no one is exempt from them. This is a really good time with this transit and Venus being retrograde to revisit any kind of old financial strategy you had in place. It's not the best time to be making and acting on a new investment strategy or a new financial strategy, but it's better. Review your past financial records. right? Was there an error? Was something missed? What happened in the details? Because now you'll be able to find them. Look at your financial goals, right? Based on your career goals that you have for yourself or current career decisions that you're making, are your finances and your career in a reflection? Reflect on your self-worth. Is there a place where you are holding yourself back from success? It's like, well, all of these things are happening over here. I couldn't possibly. Where can you find your own silver lining and really create something for yourself, where it's like an old client or an old opportunity presents itself because you were willing to stop holding back in some way. So it's really going to be interesting to see what you create under that energy. Now, on the 20th, we say bye to birthday time for you and welcome the sun into Aries like we do every year at this time. Now, the sun here, even though it's action-packed with all the rest of these planets, the sun in the second house, it brings light, heat, life, and vitality. So it is boosting confidence in some financial way, right? Around your financial matters, around your personal value. This is a lift. But what I can say here is, again, the signature for me is that it's time for you to step into leadership. Leadership roles may be related to business, maybe something related to your earning potential, but certainly stepping up, taking action towards some kind of independence, probably financially, based on you understanding your self-worth in a different way. Explore new streams of revenue, set different and clear financial goals for the next 6 months, know your worth. And I want to also offer this to you. We have spent the last 18 months in the Aries and Libra axes. Pisces, you have grown. You have changed. You know yourself different. You know yourself better. And we have a world out there of people who maybe need something that you have been through. They need your help with it, and that is valuable. But you are different. You have a space here to launch yourself into the world in a way that you maybe did not see coming, but the world is ready for you. Okay, on the 27th, we see Venus now sliding back into Pisces, into that first house. So this again brings the signature again of reevaluating your self-love practices, your personal identity. Because Venus in the first house in a retrograde fashion is calling for that self-reflection on your beauty. What do you find beautiful about yourself? When is the last time you looked into your own eyes in that mirror and said, I love you, I forgive you, the Ho'oponopono, right? When's the last time you presented yourself to the outside world with the current value that you would like to experience? The way that we dress will tell people and situations and the universe what we would like to engage with. So if you're feeling this sense of you might want to change your appearance, or your wardrobe or your personal brand, let it come up. Let the reflection come up. How do you want to be seen? What do you want to experience? But I would wait until Venus goes direct before you chop all of your hair off, okay? Before making that really big, major decision. On the 29th, we've got a new moon solar eclipse in Aries, and this is the last one in the Aries-Libra dynamic. And this particular eclipse, I think, is important to note because while it brings this fresh start in your money and your self-worth, right? A solar eclipse in the second house, it's a major new beginning in how you earn, but it can happen quickly. A new moon solar eclipse can happen fast. Things can be sudden. It can be out of the blue. And then you're like on a different timeline really quickly, even if you've been working on something for years. An eclipse can come around and you set a really clear financial intention, or you look for opportunities to increase your income or to demonstrate your value in the world, and it's like it just gets caught up in the evolution and you're in a different place really quickly. The one thing I would caution is avoid making any rushed money moves. Be very strategic. Aries is a warrior and a strategy energy, so work with that, okay? As we're going to close out the month, we have more Aries energy. You're right. It's Neptune moving into the vibration of Aries, lighting up your second house space. Now, as Neptune moves into this particular energy, first of all, it's one of your ruling planets, right? So there is some kind of relation that I think you're going to be able to align with a little bit better, or more deeply is how I guess I want to say. So as Neptune moves here, we have this spiritual awakening and more intuitive approach to money, approach to what makes us valuable. It's like you're following your intuition more deeply, and it can feel a little bit mystical. Like, it's like, am I allowed to actually enjoy what I do? Or am I allowed to not be stressed about money? Or am I allowed to just be beautiful and valuable because I woke up today and that is sufficient? You know what I mean? So there's a lot that can kind of come with this energy. But how you perceive in the realm of the intangible, how you perceive financial security and personal value, Neptune is dissolving the boundaries of old thinking, making things more fluid, making that intangible space something that you can walk in, because we create it in an intangible space and then it comes into reality. And in Aries, this energy is pioneering. It is bold. So this is a place where you're almost mixing, spiritual and intuitive measures with assertive, real live action. And it's in a way that is very Neptunian, because it can be so inspired and inspirational, and it can also be delusional and deceptive. So here are some challenges that I see that could be brought up with this. Is that one, you're having this place where you have just a complete, not illusion, but delusion. And one of the ways to know if you're moving in a way that's going to come out to be pretty delusional and disappointing down the road is if you're moving in a way that has no strategy, right? Money moves in a way that has strategy. Money wants to be told where to go, right? So how do you set up these challenges, or not challenges, the channels for yourself? First of all, what does financial security look like? What does it truly look like and mean to you? How do you equate your self-worth with material success? And are your financial choices aligned with that? These are very specific strategic questions that you can use to ask, and it'll help you to bring that desire forward and stay in a more realistic instead of an unrealistic place around your finances. All right, my beautiful Pisces, please let me know in the comment section down below how the month is shaping up for you. I love you a ton. Have a beautiful month, and I will see you next month.